Hey, good evening, heathens. What's going on? Another episode of Heavy Metallurgy, 197. Alan, we're beaten
Marty.
and battered, but we rolled into Friday smoldering a little bit and on fire. The fire has subsided. What's going on with you?
Well, yeah, we're. It's been a day. Not a good day for things working out as planned. But we have got to the end of the day. Still getting over the flu a little bit, so apologies if my voice is a tad off or if I kind of cough my way through this at times tonight. I'll keep the microphone muted when I need to. But yeah, we have made it here. Hello to everybody joining in the chat. And for folks that are already asking, yes, we have made sort of a last-minute pinch hit situation here. Our guest tonight had to cancel at the last minute due to a family thing going on. So we'll revisit with him and that topic in the near future.
Yeah, but without further ado, let's get him in here. Our friend from the north, Roger Kjørvik.
Kjørvik, yeah.
Nailed that. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
What's been going on?
Nothing much. It's, work, listening to metal, and that's mainly it. Try to do some YouTube videos here and there, but I only film when I feel like it. So sometimes I can film 3 videos in a day, or sometimes it takes a couple of weeks before it. I haven't done the metal tag yet, but it's coming.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was thanks to everybody that did it. I mean,
yeah, I was watching so many metal tags that I kind of was tired of it, so I wouldn't shoot my video.
I was trying to watch everybody's, and I thought I was doing so good until I did a proper search, and so I started watching those too and trying to comment on all of them, and I kind of stopped after a while because I'm like, I don't care what anybody has to say anymore. I'm so sick of it. It's the same questions. Who came up with these stupid questions? But
yeah, I'm still seeing a lot of channels pop up with it that I had not seen. Over the past month. So I'm glad folks have really enjoyed it, and kind of taking that ball and ran with it. That's great to see.
It is great. And for those of you not familiar or know, Roger's link to his channels in the description. Please go check it out. One of my favorite channels that I like to watch on. Great dude. Shows a lot of awesome stuff. Years and years of dedication and knowledge there. So always great to have him on. And thank you again, Roger, for jumping in at last minute. I know
no problem.
Sucks. And plus, this is late for you too. Well, you're pretty good at it.
It's early.
Some people like Metal Mickey, it puts them out of commission for a while, but you do just fine. But tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little something. We're going to do a what's spinning. We're all going to talk about some stuff that we've been spinning, of course, and also Alan's proposed that we do a little bit of a Q&A, question and answers. So
we've threatened to do it from time to time, so this seemed like a good opportunity.
So I think we're just going to break it up here and there. I put out the suggestion in our Discord server, and everybody started throwing questions at us. So we're going to read some of those off as we go, and of course, you folks in the chat, if you have any questions for us throughout the night, I'll try to catch them and put a star them up to the top so we can catch them and circle back around to them later. But Discord server, if you've not checked it out yet, it's doing pretty good. People are having a lot of fun. It's basically all the people in the chat talking all day, every day, showing what they've been listening to, talking about bands. I never thought I'd be into something like this, but it's been pretty cool. So definitely go check it out if you like the conversation in the chats every Friday. That chat is rolling on and on and on in Discord over on the Heavy Metallurgy thing. Links in the description for that as well. But anyway, let's get this started out with Roger. You're going to get this, first of all, if anything's coming up on the channel, let us know, and then start off showing what you've been listening to.
Yeah, as I said, the metal tag will be coming, and there are several more response videos that I'm going to do, some competitions and stuff like that. I do have a update as well, but I will just throw that in between.
Right on.
So the first one I want to show today is last weekend there was a Iron Maiden cover band playing locally.
Oh, nice.
Finally some metal in where I live. So I of course had to.
Were they good?
This. Yeah, they are pretty good. They are well known for quality. They were a little bit tired, and the sound wasn't fantastic, but that has a little bit to do with the venue, very small venue. But yeah, great show. I had a good time. So met up a lot of good friends that you don't see every day as well. So even though we live close by,
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, I just popped on this old copy of Killers to warm up a little bit. So it was nice to revisit this. I haven't played this in a long time, so it was due. And they are called Power Slaves, and they only play like 80s Maiden, so only the good stuff was played there. So it was a good evening.
It's a Norwegian band?
Yeah, they're from Bergen, I think.
How many black metal musicians make up this band?
Not many. I think maybe one of them are playing a little bit harsher music, but yeah. I mostly they just play in that, and the vocalist is in some other bands, but I don't remember. It's not my genre. Some more softer metal.
Right on. Okay, well, good to see you, and thanks for getting the ball rolling here, Alan.
All right, since
welcome back, by the way, my friend. I'm sorry you've got the plague. I had the plague.
Yeah, it was the good case of the flu. It's going rampant down here, but yeah, the Metal Church show was fun to watch, and I'll post my own rankings Tuesday, so folks can check that out if they need some more Metal Church.
Yeah. I'm curious.
In the meantime, since the Metal Theologian is kind of with us, it sounds like he may be slightly preoccupied at the moment, but he's there in the chat mostly. I'll start with this one because it's a band he has been kind of championing, and I picked up the album. This is a band from his neck of the woods called Interceptor, and they released a single last year, and then they put out their debut album this year. It's called Tales of Mayhem, and it's very straightforward. This is just no frills, early Venom worship. This band is aiming to be Welcome to Hell era Venom, nothing more and nothing less. Similar kinds of aesthetics with all the pictures, the whole "We Shall Return" at the bottom of the back cover and everything. The music's just a dead ringer for that early Venom period. So lots of bands have done that. It's not exactly like they're the first band to try that sound, but they do a good job of it. They're fun. Yeah, it's a local band for Aaron. They're at least in the same state as me, so I'm going to claim them as a hometown band more or less. But yeah, one of the local record stores, the guy goes down to Aaron's neck of the woods from time to time to do record shows and flea markets and sales, and had met up with the guy, picked up a bunch of copies of it, and brought him back to the store. So if you're wanting to just check out a really fun Venom clone band, they do have a Bandcamp presence. They should still have copies of this on vinyl and cassette. They did not press any CD copies. They just did vinyl and cassette. But they also have some shirts and other merch stuff too if you really dig them. Very fun listen. Again, not going to break the mold or anything like that. You've heard Venom. You've heard other bands. Take a stab at this kind of sound, and this band's doing the exact same kind of thing. But they are pretty good at what they're doing. Young band still getting started, so yeah, let's give them a shout out. Once again, it's Interceptor with Tales of Mayhem out of South Carolina.
I hope that their drummer is better than Venom's drummer was. Abaddon's drums were not great.
We don't have to set the bar quite that low.
Yeah. How they played a live show makes. I was listening. My kid today, as a matter of fact, we went to Walmart, and he had to have this Metallica CD that was a tribute. It's I thought it was the greatest hits, but basically it is the first two discs are all cover song, other bands playing Metallica songs.
Oy.
The third disc is Metallica inspiration, and there is a live Venom song on there. Holy hell. It sounds like each of them, they're playing the song Black Metal, but it sounds like they're each playing a different song. It is so shitty. I mean,
weird.
They somehow all start at the same place and end at the same place. I mean, typical Venom, right? But I mean, I still love it. I love the charm and all that, but it's just how in the hell? I mean, it would have been impossible to follow him. His meter is this all the time, and then they just crappy, but
And
still great.
Venom never had a great reputation playing live. And they had other issues beyond just keeping time behind the kit playing live. That was not their forte most of the time anyway.
So if you ever see that 3 CD set at Walmart, don't buy it. It's just hot. It's hot garbage. I don't know why he thought he needed it, but whatever. Whatever.
Turned into a collector's scum already.
He's starting to, yeah. He's starting to get there. Has to have something. So I mean, that's usually the first sign. But all right, for me, we get everybody get ready to drink here. Speaking of the kid, we were listening to this the last couple days. We've been out driving around, and you know what? I'm going to say it. This is Halloween's Pink Bubbles Go 8. The older I get, the less I see why people bitch and cry about this record. You know what? It's a stupid cover. And I think it's more so what the album isn't rather than what it is. Because, yeah, it's not Keepers of the Seven Keys. And it's following that run. So... But God, the more I get used to this stuff, someone's crying. What a banger of a song. It's kind of a speed metal song. Of course, The Chance, what an awesome song. Kids of the Century, Back on the Streets. Number One's good. Heavy Metal Hamsters is a stupid, but they always did stupid, silly songs. Going Home, I don't know. A couple duds here and there, but this record, they can't all be keepers, right? It's not Chameleon. But this record is a lot better than I think people give it credit. It's Kiska sounding like Kiska. You got Roland Graphow coming in, first album with them. I don't know. I like it. It's not one I want to listen to all the time, but when it's on, I like it. So, yep, that's it. Oh, and I've also heard that they're maybe releasing a single this month. So,
Okay.
we're gonna see. We're gonna see where the rubber hits the road. If they better not screw up this album. I know they won't, but
yeah, I spent years trying to like that album because I bought it as an expensive import, and it does have some okay songs on it. But it's one thing not to be Keepers Part 3. It's another thing to be a very unfocused album for a band that's kind of obviously not all on the same page.
Well, they lost a very key songwriter, but Roland's a good songwriter too. So.
Yeah, but I mean, at that time, you can tell there's a million distractions in the band that they're just not focused on putting together the best possible album that they could have. And there were a lot of distractions going on. But for a band that even before the Keepers era, had really done no wrong, everything they had released even before Kiska was in the band was just pure gold up to that point.
Yeah,
and then to come out with an album that's if I look at it from this angle, maybe it's not quite that bad. That you're still a big step down from where you're at.
Kiss the fish, Alan. Kiss the fish and quit your bitching.
It's cool if you're enjoying. It's cool if you can't accept the fact that it's not that good. We understand. There's kind of that. What is it? Stockholm syndrome, where you're just you stay in the pumpkin patch so long that you become too sympathetic to everything they do.
Whatever. You may have to go in timeout later. We'll see. We'll see how this pans out.
Chameleon's not such a bad album, guys. It just needs like 8 more good songs and 7 that don't sound like crap.
Listen to Chameleon 3 times and then listen to Pink Bubbles and tell me what's a good album. Yeah. Best album ever. Yeah. Roger.
Yeah, I've been. I didn't need to pick these 2 up, but I did because I'm collector scum. This is the new remaster, and this is the remaster and remix on CD.
I'd be interested to hear the remix.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I mean, if you're gonna
Century
pick up
prices.
this, go for the remix because that sounds very good. I mean, the remaster sounds good as well, but the remixes that he has done on the 3 albums this far is just very good, and gives this album more. Kind of it's juicier, it's heavier in a way. It's actually turned a little bit more brutal as well due to the remakes of it. But the remaster vinyl sounds great as well. But I do have the previous remaster, so I'm gonna check them out against each other because he wasn't satisfied with that. So I'm curious to hear if I can hear a difference in those two. I'm probably going to make a video doing that with reissues and originals, just kind of putting them up together and see what. It's kind of interesting for me as well to see, you know, is it better with reissues or are the original that much better? It's kind of different, you know, different production or different ways to put them out. But if you haven't picked up this album and you know, don't mind CDs, go for the double disc version with the remix, because that's very, very good.
Great album. Really is a great album. All right. Good one. Alan.
Yep. Yeah, I would have picked that up, but everywhere I'm checking, people are wanting like $22, $24 for the CD. And I'm just like,
it's a very expensive CD.
I'm like, we'll just wait on that a little bit then. Yeah, not cool with the rise in CD prices lately. All right, let's see. First one was for Aaron, who's in the chat. Next one will be for Sunday Morning Sessions, who's also already in the chat. They recommended this band about a year ago, and I've checked out a couple of the albums so far and really liked them. It is Spirit Adrift with Curse of Conception. This band's, you know, gotten a good amount of hype over the recent years. I don't need to describe them too much, but they've got, you know, kind of a cool doomy sound, but also a little more of a traditional metal sound worked in there. It's not just straight doom metal. It's not new wave of traditional heavy metal feeling either. They've got, you know, a really nice blend of elements. This particular one, I've only gotten to play it a few times. I just haven't had time to sit down with the turntable much lately. But yeah, this one seems to lean a little bit more doomy. The other one I picked up, it leans a little bit more away from the doomy. So it feels like they've kind of changed their sound slightly from album to album. A lot of their albums have a naming convention where the title is like, you know, B something B, C something C, E something E. So they're kind of doing the Morbid Angel thing a little bit. I don't think the albums quite follow the pattern perfectly, but you can kind of tell where you're at in the discography based on, which letter is getting repeated in different words in the album title. But yeah, I'm liking this band quite a bit, liking the sort of doomy presence on this one. And it is nice that they are, you know, tweaking their sound from album to album, that you don't feel like, okay, I heard one album, I liked it, then get the next one and be like, oh, well, this is also good, but it's a lot like the other one. It's like, no, this one's got its own personality and sound compared to the other one I've already heard. So that's cool. I think that's a sign of a good band where they can kind of move forward, evolve their sound, not crazy amounts. It's not like you're hearing a completely different band, so you still hear things and recognize things you like, but you feel like you're getting a new experience with each album too. That's like, you don't feel like, oh, didn't I already buy this album? And you go back and check, it's like, no, technically it's different, except it doesn't sound very different. So seems like they're on the right path doing that. So yeah, thanks to somebody for recommending this band a while back. Have only picked up the two, again, kind of slowly taking my time. I don't need to buy the whole catalog at once, but I'm enjoying the ones I've got so far. So that was Spirit Adrift with Curse of Conception.
All right. Well, I was staring at this. There's a big, humongous stack of records that just need to get put away. And before I filed this away and probably never listened to it again, I'm like, you know what? Putting this son of a bitch on. This is Dark Throne. It Beckons Us All, the latest album by Dark Throne. And man, I gotta say, this is the best album they've done in a long time. Is it great? Alan's making a bunch of noises. I'll wait a second. Oh, there he goes. Yeah, he turned it off. Right on. I wanted to hate it, but I can't hate it. I think this is the most adventurous the songs have been. There's not just two riffs repeated over and over and over and over again. They actually wrote songs on this one. They go interesting places and they come back. It's just, I don't love Ted's vocals. I just don't. And it bums me out because he used to be like my favorite black metal singer. Yep. He sang from just so much filth and venom. Now it's just, you know, I've always said the old man screaming at the bar type of situation, but I don't know. The cover arts are really cool. this is, like I said, I put it on and I'm like, I might actually listen to this again. The songs, there's some good stuff going on here. Side A is better than side B, I think. I think the songs on side B kind of tend to want to go back to the ice skating album or Old Star, which, God, I've just, so many people liked Old Star. I wonder if it's just because the album cover was so good they wanted to like it more. Because I listened to that album and it's like, it's so freaking boring. Like, each song has 2 thrown away Candlemass riffs over and over and over and over. It's just not good. But this is a step in the right direction. We will see. I read an interview where Fenris said that after they were done, Culto shook his hand and thanked him, you know, like proud of what they've done type of thing. He said he hasn't done that in years. Yeah, because you haven't put out a good record in years. So
exactly.
It's I'd be happy too if it's a step in the right direction. And after we've each gone through this, we're going to throw a question to the mix. Like I said, it's a Q&A as well. The Discord, there's a bunch of questions on here I'm going to go through. Also, if you have a question in the chat, feel free to post it on there. We'll star it and try to get back to it later. But this is by Random Vinyl Records. Question to all. If Record Store Day has an exclusive Record Store Day metal album you wanted badly, would you go to your local record store on that day and buy it? And he says, by the way, Deicide's Once Upon the Cross is coming out this year on Record Store Day. What do you guys think about that? Roger, how about you?
Nope. First of all, there's no record store near me, so it wouldn't apply to me. But I don't like Record Store Day. I just think it's it used to be a good idea, but I kind of feel that it's lost its kind of mojo in a way. But I wouldn't pick it up. I mean, and I have Deicide on vinyl, so I don't need it.
Right.
But yeah, it's just for me, the Record Store Day seems like I don't like it.
About you, Alan?
In theory, yes. Has it ever happened? No. If there was one that I really did want and I thought the price was reasonable, I'd have no problem. I have there's at least 2 stores nearby that will do Record Store Day things, so I certainly could. But yeah, Record Store Day, you look at the list and it's always like, oh, that's kind of neat. Oh, that's kind of neat too. But most of the items, it's just that. It's like, do I really need a picture disc of Ronnie James Dio with like 6 live songs recorded in Tampa Bay in 1987? I probably just don't. And how much is it again? $68? Yeah, I really just don't. So I'm okay with the idea in theory, but I've never gone and lined up for anything. There's really never anything I want bad enough to want to bother with it. And I would agree with Roger. I think the concept has kind of run its course at this point. I mean, if it still helps local stores generate some extra money, that's great. I also know from talking to the owners of local stores that it does generate a lot of headaches too. They have trouble getting the things that people want.
Yep.
You've got, people then, lined up upset. Well, why don't you have this? So I'm guessing, I guess it's, worth their bother because they keep bothering with it. But at the same time, I know it causes them a lot of frustrations too. It's not like it's, happy fun time day where they're just, rolling in money and everything is awesome. So I don't know, maybe they need to space them out some more. Maybe they need to change the way they're distributing things to stores, give people more chances to get the things that people in their area actually want. I don't know. It feels like the idea probably needs some tweaking by now. Yeah. What about you, Marty? You a Record Store Day guy?
I agree with you guys. I mean, there's a record store here in town. It's a nice record store. It doesn't have a metal section. It's a struggle to get anything at a decent price there. And honestly, if there was anything that I've been in line at places, but like when In the Shadows came out by Merciful Fate, I was there the day it dropped in the mall waiting to go get it. I was the only one there to get it, but so I've done stuff like that before. But in this case, if there was anything there that I had to have, I'd go to get it. It'd be $70 some. Yeah. And I typically don't give a shit. The last one last year, that Fields of the Nephilim, that Burning the Fields and Return to Gehenna LP repress came out, and that's one I wanted. And of course, the local shop didn't have it. And thankfully, this guy right here picked me up a copy and sent it as a VCLT one day. So Rick, again, thank you. It was a wonderful gift. And but yeah, record store day. I'm all for record stores getting their scratch, but these prices that they're selling shit in the stores now, it's insanity. It's just complete insanity. But yeah, thanks for your question, man. Very cool. We'll get more as we go here. Maybe we'll hit one every other one. Roger, what do you got on your turntable next?
Yeah, I just got this in, so I do have the CD of it, but I kind of always wanted to have the grip on the vinyl. Just kind of one of these not fantastic, but very cool albums. I always like this, especially side A is very good. Vocally, it's kind of he doesn't really sing as good as he could. I feel he's holding back because there's a couple of songs where he really pushes his voice, and it's very cool. But overall, he's kind of a little bit more laid back than he could have been, I think. But yeah, it's a fun album. Always like this. I picked up the CD like 15 years ago or something, and I've always liked this album. It's kind of a one. I don't know what to call them. Heavy metal, power metal, thrash metal, everything in there, really. So yeah, I don't know if you guys know this album, but it's a cool. It's out on Cult Metal Classics. He releases a lot of cool albums.
Yeah, they have a lot of good stuff comes out on that label. Excuse me. Let's see here. Don't think I ever got to talk about this. This is one of the last things that came out in 2024. So it didn't make a lot of end of year lists because people were already doing the lists by the time this came. But really good album. It is a Swiss black metal band Ara, and this is their sixth album. Eiger. They've released an album every year since 2019. So yeah, they've really got it down like clockwork. This is a really cool band. Simon got me into them a little over a year ago, I guess, when he reviewed the previous album, which was also quite cool. And this was the first one they did where the last three albums were a trilogy. So they did like a triad. It was all kind of like one long story. It was tied into like this old Gothic novel as a concept. So really well done across all three albums. So this was kind of a fresh start because they didn't have to do that storyline anymore. And it's actually a really cool. It's another concept album. Eiger is one of the kind of taller, more treacherous peaks in the Alps that's had a history of like, a lot of climbing accidents and stuff. And so this album's kind of telling the story of one famous ill-fated German attempt to scale the North Wall back in like around 1936, kind of, pre-World War II Germany. And yeah, so the pictures here on the cover, like, the rescue team's trying to get to one of the teams that basically everyone had been killed except for one guy, and they were trying to rescue him. And spoiler alert, they do not make it in time.
I have very little sympathy for people that do. I'm sorry. The people that die in Everest, sorry. I'm not sad. It's basically committing suicide. If you make it, it's trying to commit suicide and not succeeding if you do make it. Anyway, go ahead.
It's very, very dangerous stuff for sure. But yeah, it's, musically gorgeous black metal stuff. They historically have played very, very fast on the past few albums, just, relentless double bass drumming and such. This album, they're mixing it up more, which I like. They're backing off the speed a little more often. There's some more acoustic passages, which work really well. Their vocalist is female, and I think her vocals are kind of the breaking point for some folks on this band. On the earlier albums, she's got, a very kind of shrill black metal delivery. It works fine for me, but I can definitely see some people hearing it and being like, whoa, no, don't want to hear that. but she's also gotten better with each album. And on this one, you can tell that, she's got much better control over the vocal range. It's not just, like on full blast all the time, like it might have been a couple of albums back. So yeah, everything about the album just works really well. It's, a really compelling concept for a black metal album. The musicianship's top notch. The songs are varied. The vocal skill is continuing to improve. So yeah, it's just an all-around excellent release. If I had gotten this a month or so earlier last year, which was impossible because of when it came out, it easily would have been like one of my top 10 albums. It would have crept in somewhere like, number 10, number 9 for best of 2024 albums. So yeah, if folks have not checked out the group, again, the band name is Ara. It's just Aara. And the album is Eiger. Really good slice of Swiss black metal. It is sung in Swiss. All the song titles are, some of them are Swiss. I think some of them are German. I think a couple are Spanish. So, you may not be able to make out a lot of things reading or listening to it, but nevertheless, it's a really quality release. Cool band and a great album.
All right. Well, speaking of that record store I was complaining about, I was there the other day with the kid, and they had gotten in a big collection. A lot of punk stuff, some metal stuff mixed in. And this one was in there for $9. And if you see a metal-looking record for $9, and I'm coming out with it because that never happens there. But this is Wormwitch Strike Mortal Soil on Prosthetic Records. And I'm not going to lie, this was a little confused, and I was quite underwhelmed by this one. Rick, do you have this? If not, it might be going to you. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying there's some rock out, some death/black and roll stuff going on here. But then there'd be songs that weren't that. It's like they went in and out of that style, and it felt very confused to me. I mentioned it on the Discord, and people are like, "Oh, that band's cool. The other album is really good." And yeah, I'm glad I picked it up. It was only $9, but yeah, it didn't really do a lot. Maybe it was my mood on this one. I don't know. Maybe I need to circle back around to it. But you start entering that rock and black and roll type of stuff. Those are just two tastes that don't sit well in my palate. So anyway, Rick, let me know. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's weird. You should have seen the collection. It was everything from Crass to there's like 50 different No Effects records, and then this Autopsy, some Autopsy vinyl in there. It was just a weird blend of stuff. But, yeah. Check them out. Like I said, I've seen people say they like them, so it might be just me. Roger, we'll do a question on our next round here.
Yeah. Okay. I was last night, Friday night for us. I was visiting a friend. He has he bought a new set of speakers and stuff like that 1 or 2 years ago, and I've been meaning going down there and play some real heavy metal on that stereo, and the sound was ace. And one of those albums I brought with me was Ruthless. With Metal Without Mercy.
Mm-hmm.
This is an EP from 84 or something, plus some demos from 82 on the B side. A very good heavy metal, scruffy voice, really cool voice on the hair. Do have a little bit of that 70s metal riffing, especially on the demo. Part. The last song here, Fear of Evil, is absolutely fantastic. That opening riff is just pulled out of some good old 70s heavy metal band. So, but this, I never heard of this band or listened to this band, but Duplicate Records had this in, and I saw the cover, and I needed to listen to this. And I was hooked on the first song. So, this is not the original cover, I think, of the EP, but great, kind of a little bit occult heavy metal, I would say.
Okay. Alan.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I didn't recognize that cover either. I'm like, is this different, or maybe just a
Yeah, I think it's
different
a
press.
totally different cover, but this cover is very cool. So it was kind of this one of those. If you flip through vinyls and see that, you will pull it up and look at it because
Yep.
yeah, I
Very,
don't think
very
the
cool.
original was that good.
All right, let's see here. Well, been playing this. I come back to this album from time to time. I don't have it on the same high tier Marty does, but I do like it. Been spinning Game Over by Nuclear Assault.
Love it.
Yeah.
This particular CD pressing also has the Plague EP, so it's all jammed together. There's also a few live bonus tracks, but it's kind of a bit of a bummer. The live, or most of the live bonus tracks are like the instrumentals and the little short numbers. So, for example, like they have Buttfuck Live, My America Live, and Hang the Pope Live. It's like all three of these songs combined are like maybe 3 minutes worth. It's like, why did you use those as the bonus tracks?
Those are the
You're just
ones
literally
everybody
trying to
wants.
squeeze every last
Yeah.
second onto the disc you can, I guess. But nevertheless, again, folks know this album pretty well. Nuclear Assault's always been at kind of an interesting point. They, in some ways, always felt better than a lot of the typical East Coast thrash bands, maybe a little heavier or more ferocious. But they also would slip back into some of those more East Coast tropes with the, dopey songs like, the Mr. Softy theme and stuff. And is still, a little bit of the jokey stuff here and there with, the buttfuck song and all that. So, I always had maybe a little trouble just pinning them down. It's like, on one hand, they feel like, top class thrash, but then they just go and do something and you're just like, oh, don't do that. Now it feels like I'm listening to a bad Anthrax album for, another minute and 45 seconds. But still, the good music, the good stuff is, of course, good. And one thing to their credit that they did really well, Nuclear Assault's instrumentals are actually usually really noteworthy songs on these releases. Whereas for a lot of bands, the instrumental, I can take it or leave it. A lot of times they just kind of feel like they fill space. But no, things like, Live, Suffer, Die, Game Over. But these are actually really, really solid tracks, very vicious. So just a fun one to take out from time to time. And give it some more listens. Nuclear Assault, Game Over, and The Plague.
All right. Well, I was pretty psyched to get this one. I had to get it from overseas. No one in the U.S. had it. But the new release just came out here, Pitch Shifter, Peel Sessions, 1991 and 1993, a BBC recording. Man, this thing rules. It is so raw, so cool. I mean, this is the era of Pitch Shifter that I love. You've got songs all the way from the early stuff to Deconstruction. So we're probably the newest song on here. But it's even hearing like some different lyrics on one of these songs that didn't make it onto the album. So it's kind of cool, and they're just so crusty and grimy. Awesome. I love this era of Pitch Shifter. I wish they would have kept doing it. They were better than Godflesh, in my opinion. Very similar in sound, but where Godflesh was a little bit more industrial and noise-scaped, Pitch Shifter was more crust, punk feeling mixed in with the Godflesh, plotting drum machine stuff. I don't know. Love it. I paid too much. I got it from overseas, so it's stupid.
Several folks in the chat are saying they need a copy of it as well. So you've started the avalanche.
Yep, I bought the black copy. There's a clear pressing as well, but God, this is so good. I want that T-shirt too. I know a guy. Anyway. Yep.
You know a guy here.
I know a guy.
You're going to get George in trouble here, Marty.
George, just don't tell her that. Just say it was a gift.
Yeah.
She'll never know.
The CLT.
So it's a gift for you, honey. Oh, you don't want it? Well, I'll take it. Okay.
You got it free with Amazon points. Works well.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh. Well done.
So you're admitting you ordered it and stuff, but then it doesn't feel like actual money was spent.
Well, let's get into another question here. This is kind of a twofer. Question for all three of you. What do you think you prefer to listen to more, death metal or black metal, and why? And then the other question, this is from Velmix, by the way. Another question to all three of you. Is there a band that you only became a fan of after seeing them live and making a good impression on you? So it's a twofer. Death metal or black metal? Or is there a band that you've seen live that made you a fan after not really knowing them too well?
Yeah, well, death metal, black metal for me is kind of difficult. I mean, black metal is a little bit moodier for me. Sometimes, winter is kind of more black metal-ish. Death metal is kind of all year around. So I would, if I had to choose, I would probably go for death metal, really. But I don't see me getting out of any of those genres anytime. So, that's kind of a very difficult question, I think, to kind of say. It's kind of choosing between your two favorite bands, so difficult. A band that I have not liked on vinyl and seen live. Can't.
Was that what it said? I must.
Or not vinyl, but heard a band that
Is there a band that you only became a fan of after seeing them live and making a good impression on you?
I don't think so. I can't remember me seeing anything that I haven't checked out beforehand. Really, it might have happened in the early days, but I can't think of. Maybe Red Harvest. I saw them when they released the first album. I haven't heard them before, so I picked up the CD on the show. So that's one that was back in '91. So that was one that I didn't know of. I've heard the name, but I hadn't heard the music, and saw them live and thought they were cool and bought the CD. So that was the No Man's Land or something. The album, that title. So yeah, that was definitely one, but it doesn't happen often.
Alan, how about you? Same questions.
Excuse me. Let's see. If we went over my entire listening career, I've listened to more black metal, but it very much does depend on mood, and I will go back and forth through phases. I listened to a lot of black metal in the late 90s and early 2000s, and then I listened to very, very, very little black metal in most of the 2010s. So the needle goes back and forth. I think I'm more balanced on them in recent years. But yeah, if we're just trying to think sum total over my lifetime, I have listened to more black than I have death. As far as a band I got into by seeing them live, had to think about this for a minute, but one example would be Twisted Tower Dire. I had heard the name a little bit when they were getting started, and then got to see them live. I think they were opening up for Deceased, and this would have been probably very, very early 2000s. Let's call it 2000 or 2001. They were still selling their first album out of the trunk of their car, kind of early. But yeah, really liked their set. It's they sound pretty good. They closed with a really killer number called Eye of the Witch. And, chatted with them just a little bit after the show, bought a copy of the CD from them and stuff. And I've always liked the band since. I've kept up with them. Have picked up most of their albums over time. So yeah, Twisted Tower Dire would be my answer for that part. Marty, your turn to tackle these.
For me, I love both, obviously, but I mean, I went from thrash to death metal, and death metal's all I listened to forever until I started to get really burnt out on it, and black metal kind of hit, and man, that really changed my perception. And then I hardly ever listened to death metal. All I listened to was black metal. So, but now I mix it up pretty good. I throw in other styles as well, but I think really I get the most mileage out of black metal, especially newer black metal. The new stuff. There's still great death metal being made. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, new death metal sucks, because it doesn't. It's just, that's stupid. But a lot of stuff that I do hear is kind of redundant, but still good, but redundant. And that doesn't always demand a lot of re-listens for me. So yeah, black metal, and I love the shitty, nasty stuff. I just do, always have. I love the atmospheric. I love the Norwegian sound. I love that spacious, atmospheric, like you're in the middle of a moonlit forest vibe when you're listening to it, otherworldly. But I also like just the raw, harsh, nasty stuff. And bands that I've never were a fan of and was changed my mind was seeing them live. Soundgarden. The second show I ever went to was to see Voivod on the Nothing Face tour. That was Faith No More opening Soundgarden during the Louder Than Love tour, and Voivod. And Soundgarden came out and just leveled the place. They were heavy as shit. The crowd was there to see them. After they played, everybody left. There was like 15 people there to see Voivod at the end, which was sad but true. Yeah, I mean, they were just so Sabbathy and so fucking heavy. And Chris Cornell was like diving into the crowd, and it was a small place. It was St. Andrews Hall in Detroit. Alan's been there.
Yep.
I mean, it's a theater. I mean, it's a sizable place, but you know, the place was really hopping for Soundgarden, and hearing all that, you know, tuned down, slow power, it was quite inspiring. They were very, very, very good. I went out and bought Louder Than Love after seeing that show, and it's a great album. My favorite by them, actually. But yeah, Roger, back to you. What have you been listening to? Thanks for your question.
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer, really, because it's kind of choosing from something. It's not something we like to do. We want it all. Yeah. Well, continuing with my trip down to my friend, I mean, we heard everything between Alphaville and this one, so it was kind of
that album rules. That is like one of my favorites in their catalog.
It's my favorite Immolation, and Immolation is my favorite death metal band. So
they're trying some different stuff on that record. Yeah. They were trying some different stuff.
Yeah,
they worked out well,
layering it more kind of leads, or like he's doing some very cool things with his guitar on this one, and Ross's vocals it's getting better by age. You know, a lot of the death vocalists are kind of getting a little bit tired and worn out, but he's just sounding better and better. I feel. So it's fantastic album, and I had to test out his stereo on some brutal stuff as well. So
yes, break in those speakers properly.
Yeah.
All right, good pick, Alan.
Yeah, very good pick. Excellent album. Let's see. I got this one. Let's see. S. Craig Zoller sent this to me out of the blue, I guess a while back before we had him on for his most recent appearance. He had thrown out a bunch of different ideas, and one of them was talking about the band The Crown. Yeah, and I guess I had just mentioned, like, don't know their catalog really well, so probably not a show I could do. Haven't really kept up with them, and so out of the blue, he sent me a copy of Death Race King to check out. I remember when this album came out, and I feel like I probably did hear it back then, and it just kind of went in one ear, out the other. I remember folks made a big deal about it, when it was released. It came out pretty soon after Hell Is Here.
I loved Hell Is Here. That's a great album.
That one got a lot of press too. So I mean, it for a minute there, it felt like one of those bands that was really on their way up. That both those albums got a lot of chatter and stuff. And again, I probably heard it like in a tape trade or something, but it just didn't really sink in, and so kind of just had forgotten about the band. I had no idea they were even still around until news came that they were putting out an album last year. And so I was just like, okay, yeah, that's a thing. And Craig's obviously a fan of the band. So he's like, I think you'll like this. So check it out. And I did. And you're like, holy crap, this is really, really good. A fantastic album. His description of it was really, dead on accurate. They do a great job of, it's got more of a thrash metal frame than anything else, but they incorporate a lot of death metal elements into it. Or I guess you could say it's, got, a death metal structure, but they actually give it a lot of thrash metal leanings. They actually blend the two really nicely, which isn't something you always see done at a really high level. There's lots of bands that do the, just, thrashy, black and death. But sometimes it all just becomes a bit muddy and you feel like there's nothing that distinct. This band really has like all the best elements of those things put together. The songs, are very vicious. It's got, the melodies from thrash metal in it, but it's got the heaviness of death. Vocal delivery is really good. So yeah, this was just an absolute blast to listen to. Really fun music. And I guess that's part of it. It's a bit more fun than death metal typically tends to be. But it's not going, again, this isn't doing, the Mr. Softy theme or something that, thrash bands want to sometimes stray into either. It's not that kind of goofy fun. It's more the, crank it up really loud and drive really fast to it fun. I can listen into this. I can see where like a lot of the wave of black and thrash bands that have been so popular in recent years probably took a lot of cues from albums like this. All of your Bewitchers and Butchers and stuff. I feel like this was probably one of the templates they draw on really heavy. So yeah, for something that was just one of those albums from 20 years ago I had forgotten about, it was really cool to check it out. I would never have went and tracked it down, would never even notice the band again. So a big thank you to Craig for putting it in front of me where, it made a great impression. Next time I stumble across a copy of Hell Is Here, I'm sure I will pick that one up and see how it compares. Looking forward to that day.
Another band kind of in that similar vein that's just as good as Defleshed. Kind of really fast, speedy, catchy death metal with some thrashy elements.
And they made kind of a splash around the same time, didn't they? With like Under the Blade.
Yeah.
They're what, Swedish?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one that I kind of remember. It probably showed up in a tape trade and played it. It's like, okay. Yeah. Guess I just wasn't in the right headspace for it at the time. It just didn't make a big enough impression for me to ever circle back to. But very cool, very fun stuff.
All right. For me, my friend Austin sent me this for Yule gift, I guess. But Nausea, Extinction, the reissue on Svart. This thing is really well done. It's got a booklet in it, done really well. It's really nice because it came as a gatefold, and the other gate opens up. And Pat from Ground Zero Salem sent me a copy of the original vinyl, just the vinyl, not the, he didn't have the sleeve for it. Because the original pressing, I think the sleeve opened up into a poster. So I think there's a lot of records out there that probably don't have the sleeve. So it's cool. I got the reissue and the original pressing stuffed in this too. So it's a very well done. It sounds really good. The booklet's really a lot of pictures. Lyrics and all that stuff. It's for people wondering, Nausea, is this the pre-Terrorizer band? No, that's West Coast Nausea with Oscar from Terrorizer on vocals, and this is the New York based Nausea. These guys are a crusty punk band. Lady Screamer at times. There's a dual vocal, male and female vocals, duels, and it's good. I've always liked this band, and it's finally cool to. Svart does a really good job on their reissues, and this is no exception. Very, very good, very well done stuff. All right, Roger.
Yeah, Svart, reissues are quality products. So
Yep.
If you need to have a reissue and it's done by Svart, you're gonna get it.
Yep.
Good. So yeah, I was watching Sean over at Collecting Death Metal with Gruesome Show.
I just subscribed to him. I haven't checked. Yeah. I haven't watched anything yet.
He showed this Liketia Flame band from Czechia. This is they released an album under the name Appalling, and then they changed name into this, and kind of it went from pretty brutal death metal to something very unique sounding. It's in a way progressive and technical. It has a lot of, there's some Arabic elements in here, and there's some pretty melody lines, some clean vocals popping up here and there, and But overall, it's pretty brutal and heavy death metal, and it's a very good album. If you haven't heard of this album, you should check it out. It's a pretty long album, but it has a kind of a long outro song, so it's not that long as it shows on the CD when you're putting it. It's kind of a 10-minute song at the end that you don't need to listen to, because it's just like an I don't know, airy birdie song. But the whole album is very interesting. There's a lot of layers of melodies, heavy riffing, brutal vocals. A very interesting album, and I hadn't listened to it for a while until he showed it, and I went instantly into my shelves and pulled it out and had a couple of spins with it. So killer album.
All right, Alan.
Let's see. Oh, someone. Yeah, I just had to grab this. Someone in the chat shouted out Medieval Steel. You shout out Medieval Steel. I show Medieval Steel. Yeah, excellent old school EP there. But let's see. I haven't played it lately, so got to talk about something else. Let's step outside of heavy metal circles. Hadn't played this in forever, but really enjoyed giving it some spins around New Year's. Christian Death's Only Theater of Pain. Yeah, later last year was revisiting some different, goth rock type stuff. Christian Death always had, the death rock tag, which was always kind of, a cool label. Really grew out of, the LA punk scene, a little bit of the post-punk scene thing, of course. And this was an album I first came across. I don't know. I came across the band like back in college, but it wasn't this album. It was some of the later material when Valor, was already fully in charge of the band. And that stuff was okay, but I didn't dig really deep into it. And then years later, circled back and started checking out, the earlier stuff. And there really isn't a lot of the early stuff. This lineup with, Roz Williams and Rick Agnew and stuff, they didn't really record that much, which seems strange, as big a deal as people make about them, and, as pivotal as they are to the whole gothic and death rock scene. It's like, really, you've got this album. There's a recording session from before this album. It's on here as bonus tracks, but it was never released as a physical product. Some songs from it ended up on the Hell Comes to Your House compilation, maybe a couple of other comps here and there. But that was about it. After this came out, the band kind of fell apart. Roz, by the time, Catastrophe Ballet and stuff came out, Roz had, a completely different lineup working with him. So it's almost a weird one and done type thing, except of course the band name hung around, and there's been multiple different, versions of, whose Christian Death is this and that. It's a rat's nest to try to figure out their catalog. Regardless, this one, for that very early 80s, gothic death rock kind of sound, is quite good. There's a lot of cool tracks on here. Romeo's Distress, Spiritual Cramp, really good. Cavity. Anyone who's interested in that scene, obviously, of course, a good one to check out. And again, this pressing was just nice because it has those extra early tracks that were recorded. Sorry, the glare is really bad, but the case is also very dark. But this has... 6 tracks or so they recorded before the album, and those mixes are a bit heavier. The album versions are a little lighter in the production, so you get heavier versions of Spiritual Cramp. That early session is also where the song Death Wish comes from, which was never on the album, which sucks because it's one of their best tracks in my opinion. I always really loved that tune. And it always bugged me that it wasn't on some copies of Only Theater of Pain. So it's been fun kind of revisiting some of the death rock type stuff. I'll go ahead and show this because it's connected to it. What got me... Well, let's see. I started listening to some other goth stuff and then came across this book and started reading it, and that got me in a mood to read Christian Death again. There's this massive fucking tome of it. Yes. It's called Phantoms, The Rise of Death Rock from the LA Punk Scene. as you can see, this is, like, full, letter-sized pages, and the damn thing is something like 635 pages.
Wow.
I have been reading this book for 3 months, and I've gotten a little over halfway through it because, I mean, it is
Jesus.
wall to wall.
Oh,
It's almost
Ted.
easier to read the Bible.
It almost would be. It's almost like reading the Bible in a way. The whole thing is done by Mikey Bean. I'm guessing he was in some bands and stuff. I haven't read his full bio, but I think bottom line, he's just an incredibly big fan and scenester of the whole thing. And he's put it together. It's essentially an oral history. So it's done a lot like the books, for example, Please Kill Me, one of the famous punk books, where it's all interview clips, with all these different people, and it's all spliced together. But the thing that is really kind of over the top insane with this one is that Mikey cut up the interviews where it's almost like sentence by sentence, it's changing who's speaking. So while you're reading along, it's like every fucking sentence almost is from a different person. So it's like, they're all talking about the same topic. Like, chapter 8 might be about, Vox Pop. And so it's like he's interviewed everybody on the frickin' planet who knows anything about Vox Pop and was on that scene. And they're all giving their feedback, here on certain topics. But yeah, it's a crazy read trying to keep up with who is saying what. Yeah, a lot of times you get to a point where it's like, I can't keep up with like who says each line. You just have to start glossing over some of that and try to extract the content. So it's a major labor of love, quite obviously, and it's a fascinating read if you're interested in very early Gothic, but again, in particular, death rock. They make a point that it's distinct. It's not the same thing. But yeah, if you want to know like every little facet of 45 Graves' existence, or Nervous Gender, or Red Wedding, here you go. Just be prepared to take a while to get through it.
I didn't know Djarum had a publishing company. That's so nice.
It is a crazy, crazy thing. Will eventually do a review on it if I can ever get through the whole thing.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, at the rate I'm going, it's probably going to take another 2 months at least to finish.
Is it inspired a lot of shit you want to check out, or is it kind of this?
Yeah, some. Again, some of it, I had started, revisiting stuff like, Bauhaus and Fields of the Nephilim
Me too.
last fall anyway. And that kind of, in watching a video on one of those bands, the person, happened to mention, the book. I think it was a Bauhaus video. I forget what person on YouTube was doing the video. They have an odd name, Dr. something.
Dr. October?
Not that odd. It's like Dr. Steve or something. But he mentioned the books like, oh, that kind of looks interesting. Maybe I'll try to pick up a copy of it.
Dr. Steve, that doesn't sound creepy at all.
not yeah, well, like I said, it's kind of an odd name for somebody who had a goth channel. But yeah, got the book. It is a good read, but it is a very intense, very, very detailed read. And yeah, it's fun to go back and revisit some stuff like Christian Death along the way as a good soundtrack to it. So there we go. My my forays over into goth and death rock territory are still kind of there in the background right now.
All right, Dr. Steve Von Goth.
I'll see if I can find the channel while you share your next one, Marty.
All right. Well, heard there was a new Old Wayne's album, so I had to spin around and check that out because this band's early stuff, their old singer, I'm assuming I know someone in this band died. And the first, like the demo and the first full length, God, the guy singing sounded like he was buried in a drift of snow and his throat was frostbitten and he came out of the snow croaking. And oh my God, it was such an awesome companion to this like cold and churning black metal from Russia. But this new one, it's called, the English translation is Stormheart, and this was put out on Darkness Shall Rise Productions. And this thing, there's a massive book in here, humongous book, gatefold, really well done. I think mine's like a blue blue, black, transparent marble. But this thing is doesn't have that cold croaking vocalist anymore, but the guy's more of a traditional black metal singer. But the song, I've listened to it twice. The album is quite good. It's cold and churning, well produced. It's just there was no penny spared on this thing. It's got like a 2-sided poster in it. I mean, it's like they pulled out all the stops. But I missed one of their albums along the way. They were kind of evolving out of what I liked about them, and kind of gave up on them. But coming back around and listening to this, it's really, really good Russian black metal. I don't think they're sketchy. I don't know. I didn't really do any looking into that. I don't think they are. I could be wrong. I don't know. I get exhausted trying to figure that shit out anymore. So, Old Wayne's Storm Heart. Good stuff. Next question. Let's get to something here. Death Metal Cousin asks, question for all three. With almost all major metal labels constantly reissuing classics as well as newer future classics that are dropping all the time, are we at the height of a metal golden age? And is it destined to drop off again? Roger.
Well, I think we have had a golden age the last 10 years or so when it comes to reissues and a lot of cool stuff getting out there. It will drop because there's just so much cool stuff you can dig out that hasn't been released, and also prices will make it harder for people to buy as much as they have done. Like 10 years ago, it was much easier to pick up stuff or more stuff. It's just natural that it will go up and down. There is not, especially with the new kind of digital generations coming up, which are not as, when we old farts are stopping buying vinyl, who will pick it up? There are, of course, young people buying vinyls and stuff now, but not in the same regard as we. And I think a lot of my generation is the people that are picking up a lot of the reissued stuff that, stuff we had on dub tapes back in the days and never bought, and you just want to have it in the collection. Not all of those are that good, but we have kind of a connection to them.
Yeah.
And therefore you never know, but I mean, it's always been like going in waves. And will it, when it goes down now, will it go up again later? I'm not sure about that, but I hope it will continue, but I'm not very optimistic that we will see the same amount of stuff that's been released now going forward. But it has a lot to do with prices, I think.
Alan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd agree with Roger. Overall, it does feel like the last 10 years have been really great for heavy metal. You've had, death metal, not that it ever went away, but, death metal's definitely seen a resurgence, not just in popularity, but also in terms of quality. Lots of, newer bands have really made a name for themselves, and the fan bases have exploded. Feels like black metal's also done the same in recent years, that you have bands, again, pushing in different directions, taking that genre. That genre's always, been one to, branch out a lot, and you've had bands going, in different directions there. Even traditional metal stuff has done really, really well in recent years. And yes, with all the reissues and stuff, lots of labels are digging things up, putting things back out so that they're accessible, which is fantastic. But that does have to come to a head at some point. Yeah. Like Roger said, there are only so many old school things that are genuinely worth reissuing. And you can get to a point where you start seeing things, you're like, really? We needed a reissue of that? Are we sure we needed a reissue of that? Or are we just starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel here a tad? Not trying to be snobby or elitist about it. I'm sure there's somebody out there who enjoys every reissue.
I'm waiting for the Digger, the Digger reissue with Howard the Duck on it.
Well, yeah, exactly. There are some things too where it's just like, a lot of older obscure bands, they're obscure for a reason. And that reason is they simply were not as good as a lot of the bands that are a bit better known. There's plenty of exceptions to that, for sure. But there's a lot of bands that follow that rule as well. It's like, well, they made, one small album or a couple of demos and never got past that stage because they didn't quite have the chops or they didn't quite have the songwriting. And as such, do we really need their material unearthed? Not necessarily. At the same time, you've got, all of that old stuff. And we've talked about this before. With the popularity in recent years, there are so many bands out right now that even the really good bands have a hard time keeping their head above water. A scene can only support so many bands, and heavy metal is only so big of a scene. And I think sometimes we on the inside kind of overestimate how big metal is. It's like, metal, there's millions or tens of millions of us. We're everywhere. It's like, no, we're really not. There's only so many of us. And how many, can we keep all the, veteran bands going and support them, all the immolations and incantations that are still going and doing great stuff, like, Atonement that Roger showed earlier. You still need to support those bands. But then you have, a whole new crop of young sort of, superstar death metal bands that are doing good, but you got to support those. And then you have, all these sort of, unknown level bands that are just breaking through, maybe with their first album. And how many albums can any one person buy and juggle? At some point, that ecosystem is just too crowded, and the population has to collapse some. And some of it changes with trends in music. Something else comes along that draws people's attention in a different way. Some other form of extreme music catches on. Some of these bands that, have been operating in the past 5 or 10 years, if they started the band when they're 18 or 20, they're now in their late 20s. At some point, they'll have to come to grips with the fact that, we're not going to make a living doing this. How long do we want to do this as our side hustle hobby? They may be passionate about it, but how much time and money and effort can you keep putting into it when it finally dawns on you that you're just not going to become the next Cannibal Corpse or the next Deicide? That even if your band's terrific, there's 1,000 other bands doing the same thing you are. Bands will have to start closing up shop at some point. They can't all last forever on minimal support. And yes, price is something that is becoming more and more irksome to more and more people. Vinyl prices, of course, are crazy bad. We're already seeing CD prices creep up now. CDs were kind of the response, like, oh, well, okay, you can still get CDs for a good price. Well, now you can't. That's getting tough. Well, you can still have fun going to a show. Except, the ticket prices are higher, and God forbid you want to buy like a hoodie or something. That'll be like $75. Like, fuck that. I could buy like a suit of clothes to get married in for $75. $75 for, a hoodie is, that just isn't going into, again, work for a lot of fans. So at some point, things have to kind of rein themselves in a bit. The economics of the situation aren't sustainable. The sheer volume of bands isn't sustainable unless these bands really are just content to put out an album here and there on their own merits, sell a couple of hundred copies, get a couple of hundred downloads, not really worry about it in terms of any kind of career financial, just do it for fun. Okay, you can do that, but I think if people will eventually get a bit worn out with that. There's still a lot of these bands that are younger and hoping to make something of it. And at some point, you wake up and realize that's not going to happen. So kind of the same slightly grim, pessimistic outlook that Roger had on it. But while it's been a great time for metal, it's also a scene where we're probably way past our carrying capacity in terms of how much it's costing us and how many bands are trying to stay afloat, all in a very, very limited pool. Marty, you got anything more cheery?
I have little to add to this other than, everything is cyclical. I'm still thinking of, and I say it on here all the time, every year is a good year for metal. There's great albums every year, but are any of these vying for space in my head like Anthems to the Welcome to Dusk or Storm of the Lightsbane or For Victory? It's tough. I mean, it all. I guess it all. The classics are all where you jump in at, where you really start paying close attention. Maybe this younger crowd, maybe Frozen Soul is the next big thing. Maybe Sanguish Sugabog is the next big thing, or they're on a big label. So is Frozen Soul, and I don't know. I don't know how. I don't. The bottom is going to drop out of it. The scene will eat itself. It's the way it always goes. There's always an oversaturation before the fall, and the fall isn't even that big of a deal. It's just even further underground. But if you're plugged into it, it's almost like it never goes away. So it all depends on where you're at looking at the problem. For folks like us, we're not going to notice it. We're not going to. We're just going to keep going. We're going to keep buying good music, good records, but really, really loving the nostalgic pieces like Nemesis Divina, like we covered on Wednesday Night's Album Club. That's an eternal classic that's never going to get old or boring, and it's the best they ever were. And I don't know, it's a lot. New bands starting out, I just mentioned in the comments, you got to love being in a band for making the cathartic release of being in a band, making music / art and putting it out in the world. If you go into it just being happy with that, then you're fine. Being in a band is what it is. It's if you're going into a band thinking you're going to be the biggest thing in the world and disappointed and quit because you never are, that is a unrealistic goal in an oversaturated scene where everybody has the same influences and the same amp sounds or the same amp simulator sounds. I mean, it's real easy for bands to sound the same because they're all using the same gear. Because so-and-so on this classic album used this dual rectifier or this heavy HM2 pedal, or, I mean, how many Chainsaw Sweet Death metal albums are there? We're always going to put it on and love it because it flips the switch of that nostalgia button. But really, is it going to take me away from Left Hand Path? Nope. Am I going to listen to Left Hand Path over Pornivore or whatever the hell band I'm listening to? Rhoda Killer? No, it's not going to happen. But yeah, good question. Definitely a good question. And Roger, you're back. What have you been listening to?
Yeah, well, as I said, I've been very inspired by watching YouTube videos. A lot of my picks have been, bands that I've seen on channels, and especially the Metal Tag. And there was one album by this band that was mentioned, not this one, but I had to pull out Flash Crawl Impurity, and
they're in my stack here too.
Also the demo stuff that was released on Extreme Music. They did a whole bunch of these old bands demos on kind of 10-inch and CDs, but the 10-inch was so expensive. So yeah, I just needed to play this because everybody talks about the first album, but this is a pretty damn good album.
It's a really good album. They're a good band.
Yeah. So of course, should have been reissued on vinyl. I mean, talking about stuff that really needs reissues, the two first Flash Crawl albums.
This just got reissued on CD.
Yeah, on CD. Yeah.
Which I've always had the original cassette. So, Alex in the chat told me, "Oh, it's been reissued," and they did a good job on it. It sounds good.
Yeah, it looks nice. I
Rapture
do have the
Records.
original, so I haven't picked it up, but was a Brazilian label or something like that. Yeah,
I had to get it from Brazil.
Yeah.
Comes with a little mini poster. I mean, they didn't go overboard. It's got a stupid, slipcase, which is annoying, but yeah, good band.
Yeah.
All right, good pick, Alan.
All right. This is something Simon recommended a while back. I can't remember. It came up in a very roundabout way. I think he had mentioned the band Convent Guilt. I was like, oh, yeah, I vaguely remember them. And then he's like, oh, yeah, and they also had another project that was kind of cool. And he's like, oh, yeah, I remember that one too, but couldn't remember the details. So stuck it in the back of my mind. And then one day, flipped through stuff in the local used CD bin, and well, there it was. It is Shackles with an album called Trader's Gate. This is pretty straightforward, kind of rough sounding, thrash. It's got a little bit of death metal leaning, little blackened bits here and there. It's a Hell's Headbangers label release, so that tells you right away a lot about the sound to expect on it. But they're pretty cool. It's more varied than a lot of the bands that pop up on that label. So some of the songs go a bit slower and have actually some doomy parts to them. Some of them rage at much higher velocities. There's, if I remember right, there's one like instrumental that's almost, it's not acoustic, but it's like a lot more sedate sounding. Got kind of a tranquil vibe. So yeah, it's a first effort. You can tell the band still has a lot of rough edges at this point, but that's part of their charm. And they do have like a really pretty wide palette in terms of what they were doing with the different songs. I like all the variety that's on here. It's something I heard somewhere along the line years and years ago. And when Simon mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I had pulled it up and looked at it on Discogs back when he mentioned him. I was like, yep, that's the one. Never did pick that up. But then it's just like, well, I'm not going to order it right now. Maybe sometime. And then, lo and behold, a couple of months later, just like flipping through these bins, like, that's the thing. Oh, well, cool. I found something fun today. And it was. So, cheers to Simon for jogging my memory. Had completely forgotten all about this, but it's been another fun one to kind of dust off and revisit after a very long time, which seems to be a theme with a lot of the CDs I'm showing so far tonight. But once again, that one was Shackles with an album called Trader's Gate. It was their only release. They broke up after that, so there's no other material by them unless there's like some demos or something.
All right. Well, I showed this one the other day. I had a stack of shit to get rid of on Discogs, and I never updated my information, and all the listings went bad. And I found the stack here the other day. I'm like, oh, I forgot I had these. And this was in it. Owl's Blood, Cold Night of Meditation. So I pulled this off the shelf, and I think 2013 or 14 this came out. Put it on, and I don't know why I wanted to get rid of it. Is it exciting black metal? No, but it's the raw, atmospheric type of stuff I like, and it's not amazing. That's probably why I'm like, oh, I don't need to keep this, but I'm kind of glad I did. Recorded between 2013 and 2012 and 2013. It's average, but it's pretty well done. It doesn't really, it's scratches that itch for raw atmospheric black metal. Cold Night of Meditation. They put out a mini CD and a demo, I think. I think you can buy like a tape box set of all their stuff. I was looking around on Discogs, see what else they had done, but they kind of fizzled out after this. But decent, pretty good stuff. It's a keeper. I'm keeping it. Should we do another question? Let's do another question.
Yep, sure.
From Rhinepest, who's probably in the chat. Maybe it's been discussed on the show, but I'm newer to heavy metallurgy. Would like to know how Marty and Ellen met. Well, it was a dark and stormy night. Our eyes met across the crowded room. I don't know. Alan, you want to?
First interactions would have been on the Metal Maniacs website. Back then, we had what are called forums. Kids today call them discords. They're almost exactly the same thing.
Pretty much.
Just a place, basically a message board where, you have threads, different topics, all that. Around 1999, I started poking around on some more of those different kind of metal forums. Yeah, again, there was nobody really into metal where I was living. So I was like, okay, if I want to talk about this stuff, I'm going to have to reach out and try to find people. Marty wrote for Metal Maniacs at the time, and their forum was one of the better ones circa 1999, maybe even late 98. So Marty and some of the other writers also, would check in on the forum there pretty regularly. Members from several different bands, musicians, would check in and post things. And they covered a pretty wide range, of topics. You could talk about classic metal, you could talk about new releases and stuff. And, Marty, would check in there from time to time. And Marty was one of my favorite writers at Metal Maniacs. One of the nice things with print magazines is that, in all seriousness, when you read issue after issue after issue, you start to figure out that your tastes will line up with certain writers. And as such, you can start to rely on their recommendations. And with Metal Maniacs, my tastes always lined up the most with three people in particular. Sue, who we've had on the show plenty of times, Jeff Wagner, and Marty. So I learned pretty early on that, if any of those three people was really hyping something up, it was worth it for me to check that out. So Marty and I would chat back and forth some on the board.
Alan was known as Knight's Blood.
Yep, Knight's. I used it's the first full-length song on Storm of the Lights. Bane. Knight's Blood was the little online user handle that I used. I just picked it because I played that album constantly back then. We ended up trading CDs a few times through that board too. Sent a few things back and forth, and we met very, very briefly at Milwaukee Metal Fest in '99. It was literally just kind of things like, hey Marty, how you doing? Hey, Nice Blood, how you doing? And we didn't even talk for 30 seconds. You were busy with something. I was walking the opposite direction. But those were our kind of early interactions. And then in terms of how we started doing this show, it was very much a pandemic thing. I had not been keeping up with heavy metal as much in recent years because, again, there's not any real local scene here. Was stuck at home, quarantined with, the rest of the world. Picked up a tablet, was just going to, was looking for something to listen to probably while I vacuum the floor or something, and just in the little YouTube album. And I never really watched metal stuff on YouTube. So it was very random that YouTube put, a thumbnail from Marty's channel kind of, up there in terms of, you might like this video. And just looking at the thumbnail, I was just like, I know that guy. But it took a moment for the synapses to kind of fire. And it was one of your, Friday night hangout streams that you were doing at the time, since everybody was quarantined and couldn't go out.
Debauchery, yeah.
Yeah. And, just watching it, it was just like, holy shit. All this stuff kind of started, rapidly rushing back towards the front of my brain. It's just like, I know that album. I know that band. I know what the hell they're talking about. People actually still talk about this stuff. So, watched a couple of them and then checked. I still had your email because I had ordered stuff from Bind Room here and there over the years. I'm not a regular customer, but, I'd pick up a thing here and a thing there. So, I emailed Marty. He was just like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. Just saw your thing on YouTube. That's pretty cool. And you wrote back right away. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I remember you, man. So we chatted on email a bit. I started watching y'all's shows.
Actually, it wasn't that casual. When I got an email from Alan, it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, holy crap, like blast from the past, like brought back all these really awesome memories. I'm like, holy shit. And it was really, really cool to reconnect. It was cool. I was psyched.
Good to hear. And y'all started inviting. Those Friday night hangouts were pretty open. You folks from the chat, could kind of jump on camera for a little while if they wanted to. At some point you often say, hey, you want to be on camera for a while? I'll send you the link. Because I was like, hell yeah, I can do this. I talk
any
for a
moron
living.
can do this.
Well, it's more the point. Like, I know tons of the stuff they're talking about, and I talk for a living. I'd been making videos all year, again, teaching online. So, I wasn't camera shy. I wasn't. There was no worries about, I'm just going to clam up or anything. So it's like, I know I can do all this stuff, and I know this material. So hopped in and had fun with it. And it just kind of gradually went from there. Marty was really encouraging about setting up my own channel. which I didn't do for a while. I kind of thought that over for a long time before I finally did my own channel. Marty helped. He did a guest appearance. We did a video together for my channel early on about power metal through the ages. And it was just a really good back and forth. It was obvious that, we kind of, are on the same wavelength on a lot of things. We communicate well, we can play off of each other quite well with our humor and stuff. And so when Marty wanted to start, the Friday night, just hangouts had kind of run their course. Everybody had done everything they could with those. Marty wanted to turn it into more of an actual structured show. And, he asked me to kind of help with a couple of episodes on that. And I very much thought you were going to do like a rotating thing. It's like, sure, I'll help you do these first couple. We did like, Noise Records and Manila Road with Aaron. And then I figured, you would just sort of, rotate through guests very commonly. Well, 197 episodes later, you're still letting me log on Friday nights. I
love it. Absolutely love it.
So yeah, it was. I really
you are heavy metallurgy as well, so it's
I didn't at the time. I really was just like, okay, this is I'm helping Marty with a couple of videos on his channel, and then he's going to ask some of these other guys. He's going to ask Pat to do a couple of weeks, and
which we've done, but they're guests. They're our guests. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like Marty and I sat down and decided to design a channel together. It started as his channel and me helping, and it just worked well. So we kept doing it, and we still are.
Yep. And it's still fun. Yeah.
And that's how we discovered the true meaning of Arbor Day, everyone.
Absolutely. I have nothing to add to that at all. He surmised it very nicely. So, all right. Roger, you're back.
There you go, Ryan Pest.
There you go, Ryan Pest. That's how it was.
Yeah. Talking about reissues and obscure stuff. This is Damnation Call from Switzerland. Carnage of Soul. One and done EP, you could say. It's half an hour, but it's listed as an EP. I don't know where the line goes there, but it's quite technical death metal from '96. Pretty damn good. This is a black vinyl, and it's printed on the vinyl that is 45 speed, and it does sound really good on 45 speed, but it is supposed to be 33 speed.
Those albums where it sounds good either way is always, you put it out and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. Oh, wait, maybe here's something. It's like, wait a minute. You put it the other way. And it's like, wait a minute. They both sound good. That's one of those records. Amazing.
This actually sounds really good on high speed as well, but kind of a little bit more intense, but kind of the technicality fits very well the speed. But it's a really, really good release, and I've stumbled upon this kind of like 10 years ago on YouTube. Might have been, Ken's Death Metal Crypt or whatever. I found this band, but just a really good death metal release. If you haven't heard it, you should go and check it out. Fantastic artwork.
Right.
It's reissued on something called Rotting Misery. So the logos look like that. But yeah, I don't know how many, has been made, but probably not a lot, I would guess.
All right. Alan.
All right. And now it's time for this evening's segment where Alan shits all over a classic hard rock album. Picked this up sometime in the past year. I like early Queen. I'm not huge on Queen's hits, but I do like, there's some of the early albums like Queen 2, a lot of really gorgeous music on that. Sheer Heart Attack, some very cool stuff on there. So I, kind of, when I can find them cheap, we'll pick up some of those early Queen ones to check out here and there. And eventually I found a cheap copy of A Night at the Opera. It's like, oh yeah, cool. Okay. We'll give that a chance. This one didn't work out so well for me. I know some people love the album. Sorry to, yuck your yum a little bit, but this album doesn't come together for me. And I've tried it several times over many months now. It starts okay. Death on Two Legs is the opener. It's the only really kind of forceful song on here, though. I guess there's one more that technically counts. And that's kind of the problem. Queen's albums are always going to mix it up. You're going to get a little of this, a little of that. But the fact that they kind of, go with, the aggro song right off the bat means you don't have much else later in the album in this style. So it starts okay, but yeah, then you get stuff like, and again, the font here is weird, Loving on or is it Leaving on a Sunday Afternoon. This is just not the kind of Queen song I enjoy very much. And they have too many of them on here. Then you've got, I'm in Love with My Car. I never liked that song. There's You're My Best Friend. And again, I don't react well to a lot of Queen's bigger hit songs. And that's one to me that it's fine. It's a nice, sweet little pop song. That's not really what I'm interested in hearing Queen perform. Let's see, track 5. I do like track 5 a lot. It's just called 39. This one's got a little bit of the folksy kind of epicness that I associate with Queen 2. Father to son and stuff like that. So that's a really cool song. But then again, you've got things like Sweet Lady. You've got Seaside Rendezvous, which is another one of these. They liked doing these kind of vaudevillian sounding songs. And where it's just like, now I'm Freddie Mercury and I'm going to sing like I'm on the old timey radio.
Yeah.
Go away. Don't do that. I don't like that. The real offender on here is track 10, Good Company, where they do the same thing. That song almost made me take the CD player out of the CD player and just throw it into the middle of the road. I'm just like, God damn, that song's annoying. If I wanted to see Freddie Mercury wear a red and white, barbershop thing and twirl his mustache while wearing a little straw hat, I'd watch some messed up episode of Family Guy. That song's just horrible. Bohemian Rhapsody, of course, is the big hit. I've never been the biggest fan. Half the song is kind of good. I like the half where he's actually singing. But when you get to the whole middle bridge thing and they're just, again, I can't just stop it. Just that. Why? Why did you do that? I have no interest in that. So yeah, there's just too much farting around on this album for me. I skipped, one or two songs there that were okay. And was it the Prophet song? That one's okay. But there's too much garbage for me in between the few good songs on here. So yeah, this might be my last little foray into Queen. Feels like maybe the first 2 or 3 albums are where I need to keep it parked. Not sure I need to venture much farther into the catalog beyond this one. Don't mind that I gave it a try. And again, I know it's an album a lot of people hold in very high regard, and it had this huge recording budget and blah, 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 and all that. But the bottom line for me is the mix of songs on that album is just not enjoyable. It's not the style I want to hear Queen doing, so I'm not going to. So that one's either going into a VCLT pile or I'll take it back to the store and get $1.50 trade credit for it. So, yeah, that was my not so thrilling night at the opera. Marty, over to you.
All righty. Well, Dark Descent finally got in a bunch of copies of Norway's Djevel, and I've been holding off on buying these because I just didn't want to pay the damn prices to get them shipped here. But I got the trilogy, the latest album, Nat Til Ende, then Tanker Som Rear Natten, and Nas Kurder Natten Sort. You know what I'm saying, Roger? Yeah, I know.
I do.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is you got Member of Vemod in here. You've got Bard Faust playing drums on this stuff. Yeah. It's really good. Trondheim styled black metal, I would say, if that makes any sense. If you're looking at like maybe Hordem Rife, I would say these guys are a little more atmospheric maybe than Hordem Rife or Mare, stuff like that. But I really enjoyed it. Roger, your assessment of the new album is spot on. The last song is bullshit. They
Yeah.
keep going on and on. It's like 14 minutes of the same riff. It's really a lame ending to a really good album.
I got the vinyl in the other day, so
Nice. This might be my favorite of the bunch. I don't know,
Yeah.
but all three of these are really good, and there's others they got in as well. I need to circle back around and grab them, but yep, I'm glad I finally got some copies here stateside, and
Yeah.
I would have bought everything they had, but I'm trying to be somewhat good, which is funny because I haven't been good at all. I've been absolutely terrible, irresponsible, and stupid, and there's not enough hours in the day to listen to all the shit I've bought. It's ridiculous, but it's really good. It's good. It's good Norwegian black metal. The spirit lives on, though it isn't like the Oslo or the Bergen sound.
no, it's kind of that.
It's a little colder. It's not, the atmosphere is different, but it still has a mystical quality that's very Norwegian. Like I said, the whole Trondheim thing is kind of different.
Yeah.
Within the Norwegian framework, but
Has its own sound and kind of
it does.
The atmosphere that they create, the kind of the flowing of the songs are different.
Yep.
You can pinpoint this is a Trondheim band, and that's really cool, I think.
Yeah.
So,
It's cool, and I'm glad that I finally scored them. And I figured I'd go with the trilogy and work my way backwards. Is the early stuff worth getting as well, or I know they've
yeah, you could easily buy at least. There is one acoustic shit. What's the title of that album?
just throw it out there. I'm sure I'll remember it. You know, our Norwegian dialect is so spot on.
They have released one like acoustic album. I don't remember the title.
Is it good though? I mean,
no. Stay clear. It's
Okay.
totally unnecessary release. So do check them out before you buy them. I think it's their fifth to last or something. That's in the middle of their.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the heads up on that. And our friend Daryl, Celtic Frosty, he had a question for us. In all seriousness, they're joking about some other stuff. I'd love to hear the guys all give advice to those thinking of starting their own channel.
Yeah, Daryl's been toying with this idea for a while.
He has been. Daryl, shit or get off the pot. Come on. God. Roger, what do you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean, do it, try it. I mean, if you don't like it, just stop doing it. I mean, this is something you have to do if you enjoy it, and you have to be kind of motivated or kind of want it. And a lot of people get burned out after a while because they feel they have to do this and have to do that. But for me, I shoot videos when I feel like it. I don't have to do anything with my channel. But I mean, if you're thinking about just do it. I spent a year thinking about starting my channel, but yeah, it turned out okay in the end.
It's excellent. Like I said, you're one of my favorites. Other than the fact you're a good dude, it's
Thank you.
really cool because I can relate to you because we're older and we have similar ideas on shit. So
yeah, gone the same path in the music in a way. So yeah, so it's nothing to kind of think about. Just try it, and give it like 5, 6, or 10 videos before you stop it, because
it takes a minute.
You will hate yourself the first 5 videos, anyways. I mean,
still do.
Yeah, still do. But I mean, you're more relaxed now. But the first videos, you're kind of uptight and kind of hating yourself, and it's just press record and talk about music. It's not really that hard, but but in the beginning it's fucking terrible to see yourself.
It is. It's horrible hearing your stupid voice.
Ryan
you hear your stupid voice in your head all the time, then you hear it on the I'm like, I sound like that. Oh my god, what happened? Alan, Alan, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, some things. I also spent a long time thinking about doing the channel. It was well over 6 months. For me, a big part of it was just that it was if I'm going to take on something like that, I want to do a good job with it. And as such, I won't sign on to do something like that until I kind of convince myself that I can do a good job with it. So it took me a while to kind of think like, well, what am I going to do? How would I do it? You know, kind of looking into it for a while before it's like, yeah, I think I can actually do this and do it well enough that I'll be happy with it. But for advice, you know, Simon said consistency is key, and that's a thing. I would recommend, you know, come up with, you know, at least, you know, like, you know, half a dozen or so topics that you'd like to do, that you'd really like to do, so that you've got a good handful of ideas starting out. You don't want to be like, I've got one video I want to do, and then have like nothing to follow it up with for a while. So yeah, come up with like, you know, a list of, you know, 5 or 6 different things that you feel like, yeah, these would be great topics I'd really like to cover. Think about how you're going to want to approach things. Are you going to want to do it strictly by yourself? Or are you going to want to always, you know, pair up with a second person to do a lot of them, where it's more of a conversation? Think about things like, you know, length. Are you wanting to get on camera and talk, you know, for an hour at a time, or just for 10 minutes or so at a time? You know, kind of, you know, just come up with, you know, with a plan that you're going to be comfortable with. You'll want to make sure you have, you know, a decent microphone. You don't need anything super expensive, but you don't want the microphone that's built into your phone or laptop that probably isn't going to sound quite right. And excuse me, be realistic about what you want out of the channel. If you're looking for like, you know, a second source of income, or you're hoping to, you know, quit your day job so that you can challenge Mr. Beast, yeah, that's just not going to happen. You know, yeah, be realistic about it. You know, early on, just like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, very obscure random metal shit that I'm familiar with that I'm not seeing people talk about on other channels. And yeah, not many people may be interested in it, but it's kind of fun for me to talk about it. There's some small number of people out there who are interested in it. And here and there, somebody can discover something new that they didn't know about before. And if that happens, I'm happy. And like, you know, the video I put up on Tuesday, it's, you know, some sound clips from some old French demo bands that we talked about. I
haven't watched it yet.
Daniel Eckroth. Nobody's watched it. It's like, you maybe, you know, a couple of hundred people have watched it. That's probably all that's ever going to watch it. And I'm okay with that. I'm not here to become famous. I'm not here to have thousands of views. It may only be a couple of hundred people who watched it, but, you know, everybody that's left a comment about it, you know, his comment is like, wow, these are some really cool bands. I'm glad I got that chance to hear these. I never would have checked these out if you hadn't taken the time to, you know, splice some clips into, you know, this 20, 25-minute video. And that's perfect. That's all I'm trying to accomplish. And if that's what people are getting out of it, mission accomplished. I have succeeded in the thing that I wanted to do. For me, a big part of it, like Simon said again, is just consistency, though. You know, I put out one video a week. It's always on Tuesday. It's always at 6:45 in the morning, so people can listen to it when they're getting up or commuting to work if they want to. I'm not going to do videos more frequently than that. I don't really have the time to anyway. But I'm going to try to stick to that schedule as much as I can. You know, even if I'm not always in the mood for it, I'll record a couple of videos ahead of time so that I can be like, I don't feel like recording one this week, but I made this 3 weeks ago. And this will be a good time to put this one up, just so that there's that kind of consistent content. I know Aaron's made this point before, and it may be one of the things he's highlighting now, is don't drive yourself nuts with editing. I mean, if you like video editing and you're good at it and it's fun for you, that's great. But don't feel like you've got to sit there and go nuts doing tons and tons of editing. That's where a lot of people get a little bit bogged down. The video part is done, but then they spend, you know, the next 2 weeks trying to edit and clean all this stuff up. And it takes a long time for the video to come out. And then if it doesn't get a lot of views, you feel like you put a lot of work into it and stuff. Just record it and go. If you make some mistakes in the video, it's not a big deal. You don't have to add tons of bells and whistles to it. I hardly ever do a second take on a video. I hardly ever clean up any kind of editing type things. It has to be pretty egregious for me to be like, yeah, all right, let's go back and redo that. Most of the time it's just like, fuck it, I mispronounced the name or I gave the wrong year. I'll add a note in the show comments and that will be fine. I literally almost called my channel One Take No Dubs. It's a joke because it's also the name of an old new wave of British heavy metal compilation where the band's got exactly one take to record their song, and then we're not allowed to do any overdubs on it. It's like, that's exactly going to be my approach to this channel. I want to hit record, I want to do the thing, and how it turns out is how it turns out. So, yeah, there's some advice. If it's fun, and go for it. If it feels like it's going to be a lot of work and not so enjoyable, or that it's only going to be worth it to you if you get some kind of massive payoff at the end, yeah, might not be the thing to try. Marty, give our good friend Frosty some more sage words of advice.
Well, I mean, y'all hit on a lot of good stuff, and the hardest part is the first video. It just is. Not a guy that likes to be photographed, and I turned on my camera after I watched some people. Dwayne Lazarus is a guy I watched a lot. Count Blagarath, Scott Waters, Aaron, Metal Theologian. They're dudes. Greeno. They're dudes I watched and were inspired by. I'm like, I can fucking do this. I can do this. No problem. I set up my camera and I just stopped like, what the fuck am I doing? This is stupid. This is ridiculous. But I did it. It was nerve-wracking. I put it up and couldn't believe some people watched it. Like, wow. And the thing of it is, it gets addictive. If you do it and you get good comments back, it encourages you to keep going. And to reiterate something Alan said about your technology, is it necessary? No, but you have to keep in mind that people are going to watch this. Okay. If they're going to watch this and it looks like, your dog came and licked the lens beforehand, or you have a shitty camera, or your sound sounds like you're, recording it from the neighbor's house while the mic is in a different house. You need to have, it doesn't need to be perfect, George Lucas, Skywalker sound type of level shit. No, but you do have to have some clarity. People need to be able to hear you. That's important. It's important. Yeah. And frequency is, Devin said quantity isn't as important as quality, which I agree with. But if you want to get your channel to grow, YouTube likes consistency and frequency. Those are two things that appeals to the algorithm. So keep that in mind. And one thing, people like collection videos. What I hate, which will make me flip off your channel quicker than shit, is if you do a collection video and you haven't listened to anything. I bought this, then I bought this, then I bought this. If you're not telling me shit about what these things sound like, what's the point? What's the point? If you have zero to contribute, if you have zero thoughts on what you've listened to, good or bad, and you're just showing product, what you spent your money on, it's kind of an empty channel. There's not much. It doesn't have a lot to offer. So come at it with your own opinions. Yeah. And Aaron in the chat mentioned, we may not make a lot of money, but we've met people all over the world. I mean, if it wasn't for this channel, I wouldn't be talking to this old bastard from Norway right now. It just wouldn't be happening. So, or, me and Alan wouldn't be, spending it's just, this is cheesy as shit to say, but the way that this channel has enriched my life with people I've known and got to know and have met in person, Kellen and Ben. Of course, I knew Ben before YouTube, but it's really cool to actually, and when you do meet the people, it's not weird. It's like, we kind of know each other in a weird kind of way, and then just meeting each other is just a circumstance. But no, there's a lot of good that can come from it, and prepare to be discouraged. I'm not getting enough views. If you're worried about that type of shit, don't start. Just don't, because it'll drive you fucking crazy. And this channel was just me, and I don't think this channel got good until we made it Heavy Metallurgy. The whole idea is to try to make it like a video magazine community type thing. And thanks to everybody in the chat and all the people that contribute to the show weekly, whether it's the reviews or the album club, or guys like Roger. He could be making shit for his own channel right now instead of sitting here yapping with us or sleeping. He could be sleeping right now as it's late. It's 5 a.m. there. So, but
wait, you mean he doesn't want to listen to me rant about a Queen album for almost 10 minutes?
I know I didn't, but it's okay because it's Queen. Queen is yucky. But here we go, right there. If I got somebody to listen to Angus McSix and like it, fuck yeah, I'm psyched. I'm psyched. But
Exactly.
there's a lot of good that can come with it. There's a lot of people that do it, and there's some people that do it really well, and there's other people that don't do it really well. But it's a process, and like anything in life, the more you do something, the better at it you get. And ask questions, pay attention, share your thoughts. Don't just show what you buy, and don't. And someone also said, don't buy shit just to show it on your channel.
No.
Yeah,
Buy
Devin
shit
said
because
that's a
that'll
really good point.
fucking torpedo your battleship quicker than shit financially. If you're just buying shit to show it on YouTube,
That's not sustainable.
no. This is kind of an outlet for collector scum, like all three of us in this chat. So anyway, great question, Frosty. Daryl, pull the trigger, my friend. Get it going. Get it rolling. Hey, Synthetic Life, thanks a lot. And we do appreciate everybody here. You folks dedicate your time every week, and Roger and a whole crew, we love you. It's awesome. Thank you for joining us. But speaking of which, Roger, you're back. What have you been listening to? I'm going to go pee while you talk about it.
Yeah. Steve over at ST Young played this in the background of one of his videos. It's Sentinex's Subconscious Lobotomy. This is a reissue from Underground Records or Decrypt. Originally Decrypt, but kind of licensed on. This is a double disc gatefold. A lot of good, cool stuff in it. Kind of this. I think this was or the original cover looks more like this, but this kind of a zoom in on the original cover. So I think they upgraded it quite a bit. But this is top-notch Swedish death metal, their best album by far, in my opinion. It's just a killer album that you don't really see that much. Maybe it's not so available, but it's just a quality release. And if you're into Swedish death metal, you should definitely check it out if you haven't, because it is a quality album. From they have been releasing a lot of stuff, but they had a couple of albums with a drum machine drums, and they were not like very good. So yeah, quality Swedish death metal.
Yep, very good one. And yeah, for some reason that album doesn't seem to show up as much as some of the contemporaries. Not really sure why.
It might be because it wasn't released on a lot of copies probably back in the days, and the cover this is just a zoom up. The original cover, it doesn't scream
that's true.
Scream death metal. It looks more like a bad thrash album or something like that. So
it kind of, even the band name kind of feels like a thrash band. So I know the first time I heard it,
this newer logo, it's kind of more. This looks more like a death metal album. So it's. I don't remember if there was a full picture of the original cover, but when you go from this to this, you will sell a little bit more. So I don't know, Marty, if you've heard this Sentinex album.
That band I followed for a while and then kind of faded. I got like 4 or 5 albums and then kind of stopped paying attention.
Yeah, this is the first and their best.
Oh, right on.
By far.
Is that drum machine? Is that drum machine as well?
No, proper drummer as
right
well.
On.
So yeah. So no, those drum machine albums are. I don't really like them.
Hey Wade, yeah, the videos may take up a lot of space, but you shoot them, you upload it to YouTube, and then delete it off your phone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like people are asking about a lot of people start. Now I started with the phone. Like newer phones, they have great cameras. They just do. Way better than the old digital cameras used to be. They're completely. I wouldn't recommend always streaming on them, but they do work as well. You can use the phone for a lot of shit, just to get your foot in the door and see if you like it and see how, it's literally free to get started. This just pulling the trigger is the big thing. Sorry. I just want to comment on that without having to type a bunch of shit. Ellen.
Let's see. I haven't seen Kellen in the chat tonight, but this one would be dedicated to him. It's the second album from a Greek black metal project called Thy Darkened Shade. The album is called Liber Lucifer 1 Kim Semjet. I'm not going to translate that for you. You can do it yourself. That's what Google's for. Really cool and interesting band. This came out in, I think, 2014, so it's about 10 years old. The band just released the follow-up last year, and that was my introduction to the band. I think Jack Half a Prayer had recommended them in the chat one night. Like, that sounds interesting. I'll go check that out. Jack's usually got really good recommendations. And yeah, really loved that album. Still playing it pretty regularly. And Kellen had mentioned, like, yeah, if you like that one, you should definitely go back and check out the previous album too. It's like, I will do so when I get a chance. Their stuff's not easy to find in the US. Their label doesn't have much distribution stateside, but eventually, did pick up a copy of it. And it is in a very similar style to their album from last year. By last year, I mean 2023. Sorry, not 2024. Excuse me. Couple of ways to try to describe the band. They are a bit similar in style to 21st Century Abigor. So if you like some of their stuff, say like, Fractal Possession or the albums they've done in more recent years, you're getting into the right zip code. I'd also say they're a bit similar to Emperor if you leave off the 15 different layers of synths and just stuck to all the underpinnings. Really fast, very fluid guitar work, but very intricately picked. You can hear like every individual note. Sorry, what's Ryan got?
Ryan says, I think I bought some Venetian blinds from Thy Darkened Shades.
I bought mine from a company that was literally called That Blind Guy. I don't think they stayed in business very long, but they did a nice job. But yeah, really highly technical displays here. Not technical like in just, wanking around though. Just the fact that, they're playing super fast, but super tight, just all these, precisely hit every little note. There's nothing the least bit sloppy on here. It's very lean. Vocals have, a good sort of, Hellenic feel to them. If you listen to this, you can pick up pretty quickly that it is a Greek black metal project. They have always kind of have a distinct sound. Drumming is insanely good throughout the album. Bass work is extremely good. And these are things that you don't necessarily always think of as like, standout qualities for, hyperspeed black metal projects. But all the level of playing from everybody on this album is kind of mind-blowing. And it's the same way on the follow-up also. Lyrically, kind of atmosphere, again, it's got that kind of dark, occulty vibe, which again, very Hellenic when it comes to black metal. Lots of Luciferian magic and, sort of, Eastern philosophies worked into it. It all ties together really nice and makes for a very good visual package and a really good, strong delivery. You'd think the songs would kind of maybe start to run together after a while, or that, your interest might wane. They really are good at holding your attention, even across songs that can run 7, 8, 10 minutes. It never feels like they're treading water. It never feels like they're just, going back and rehashing a song or a part. The songs are always moving forward and always doing something interesting without feeling disjointed or like they're being proggy for the sake of proggy and just all over the board for no reason. This is very tight and very focused, while at the same time very, very technical, but still has, the perfect kind of, again, dark, gloomy, dark, Hellenic black metal vibe. It's really impressive how well they managed to just get everything nailed. So if anything I've said or any of those bands I've mentioned are in your wheelhouse and you've just never checked them out, Thy Darkened Shade, excellent project. They've only done 3 full-length albums to date. We're hoping that it doesn't take them like another 9 years to get to the next album. But yeah, kudos to Jack for turning me on to that band in the first place, and to Kellen for nagging me so I didn't forget to go back and check out that album, because it is really, really, really good too.
All right. Well, this is one a friend of mine suggested I check out, and I just went a little crazy on what the hell's the name of it? Storm Spell Records.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up buying Owlbear, Chaos to the Realm. Man, got a lady singer on this, and she's really good. It's power metal, U.S. band. It's like a mixture of let's see here, Boston, Pittsburgh, Seattle. So it's like a collaboration, though I do believe they play shows. I don't know for sure. They just put out a new album, it looks like, called Feather and Claw, with a killer cover. I don't know. This is just it's power metal, traditional heavy metal. Really good lady singer. There's a good aggression to this, and the production isn't so spit, shine, polished that it takes all the aggression away from it. Yeah, me and the kid went on a drive here, doing some errands, and checked this out, and I think we both enjoyed it. So this is one. In fact, actually, I sent a picture of this to your wife, Alan. Say you need to check this out. If you like Seven Kingdoms, this is right up her alley. She said she would. I don't know if she did or not, but
it's on her to-do list, but yeah, she's had some issues here the past couple of days, hasn't gotten to it, but yeah, she couldn't remember the name. She told me you had sent it to her, but she couldn't remember the band name.
Right.
I've seen that before, but I've never checked them out either.
They're a fun band. It's a fun band. Is it, you gonna chuck all your Lost Horizon records and Blind Guardian records in the trash after you hear this? No, but it's a fun, solid, well done record. And let's go to another question. Since Mike is in the chat, we will go to, he's got a bunch of questions. It says for Marty, but I think me and Alan can both answer on to this. Do you see heavy metallurgy as a passion project you simply enjoy as it unfolds, or do you have greater ambitions for it in the years ahead? And how do you reflect on the evolution of heavy metallurgy so far?
Marty,
Alan?
you take the lead on this one.
Is this a passion project? Yeah, sure. It is. It's something that I thought we should, I enjoy doing the channel by myself, but, getting Alan involved has been great. It actually feels like it's working towards something. And the more we've done it and we've got more people involved in, like I said, growing a community, essentially, it is kind of scratching the nostalgic itch. I'm trying to get back a feeling that we had during the heyday of Metal Maniacs, where, yeah, we weren't all on the internet staring at each other all the time, but, we were communicating back and forth, talking on the phone, meeting each other on occasion, and, trying to build this into a video magazine type of thing is, it's an aspiration. And I think as we keep going, I think we're performing a service. There's probably better out there. There's probably worse out there than us. And I'm happy where we're at. And I hope to continue to keep doing it. I can't keep printing shirts forever. And getting old. And this is fun. This is fun. Like I said, it enriches my life for the fact that I get to, talk to people all over the world. And talk about something I've invested a great chunk of my life into my own pursuits, metal, music. It's like baseball. Some people they know baseball stats. This is kind of like the musical version of baseball stats, but being able to share it with other people who might be able to learn something from my throwing money at stuff and constant obsessing over information. Yeah, it feels it's a lot of fun to do this every week for you guys. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, well said, Marty. Yeah, it's definitely a passion project and a fun project. If it stops being fun, well, then we'll probably stop doing it. Part of what makes it fun is, just getting to talk about the music we love. but it's also getting to interact with, not just the guests, but the people in the chat too. That's one thing that you don't have any direct control over with YouTube live streams. And, hey, it's YouTube. It's got a reputation. We've all been on lots of channels and shows and things where, the chat is just, nonstop troll bullshit, which nobody wants to do with that. I don't want to come home at the end of the week, sit down here for 4 hours Friday night and have to be deleting every third comment, from trolls and stuff like that. But, we've always been really, really fortunate in having the folks in the chat be, very cool. People can state their opinions. They'll disagree. They'll, joke back and forth. But people aren't, seriously giving each other a hard time. No one's being a jerk or a jackass about it. People contribute. Folks in the chat are helping us remember things and pointing stuff out all the time. So that's been, a huge boon to the channel. Would it be cool if the channel was, something, bigger? It's easy to say yes, but that would also come with some real prices. For example, if we had 2,000 people watching this live right now, we couldn't interact with the chat the way
it'd be impossible to interact with the chat.
The comments would fly by faster than we could possibly look at them. We'd have to hire somebody just, to be picking comments and plopping them on the screen randomly for us. So we'd miss, part of that interaction quite a bit. We'd have to inevitably deal with, a lot more just trolls and stuff. So, there's a give and a take there for sure. But it's been an awesome opportunity. I've gotten to talk to all kinds of people and meet people I never would have otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's always been, really incredible. And, we'll see. We've been approached by some folks with a couple of opportunities to try to, expand and branch out some things in the near future. It's way too early to talk about that in any detail, but we're discussing things with some folks that might see the channel go in a couple of different directions. But, at the end of the day, we have fun with it. There's a never-ending stream of topics that folks can discuss. And we've also always been fortunate in having a lot of folks, who contribute on a regular basis, like Roger. The fact that, we had to have someone in a pinch, we're like, Roger's on our short list. He often can and is more than willing to step in. Let's see if he can. And he does, and that's excellent. But, other folks too willing to help out, whether it's Simon helping with the Discord, Devin, contributing to the Discord a ton. Folks like, Melanie and Simon taking time away from their channels to do album reviews, for Metallurgy.
Which aren't often watched, by the way, people.
Yeah. And I guess, if there was one thing that, I'd say that I would like to see Metallurgy, just get a little more traction on, it would be the album reviews. Folks do put a lot of work into those. We try to pick things that we think are going to be interesting to people for the most part, albums that people might enjoy checking out that aren't super, obvious ones. You don't need us to review the new Iron Maiden album for you when it comes out.
But I will bitch about it if you want me to.
We can, but we try to find albums by things that you might miss, bands you might not have heard of, but then nobody watches them, so still nobody's ever heard of them. So it would be nice just to see people's work on the videos, get a little more attention for the reviews. But it's a process.
It's a process. It takes time.
Yep. But yeah, hopefully that kind of helps answer the question. I don't think you, Marty, and I have any delusions that, we're going to quit our day jobs. And again, we're going to start, raking in, the money like, that, stupid kid who keeps making houses out of Legos and then, running over them with a car. Again, metal's only so big. We're not going to have, 8 million views on a channel that's, heavily just dedicated to underground heavy metal. And that's also okay, though, I think.
Yep, it is. And I do have a question for the people in the chat. We've been going back and forth on this. We have people on here Friday, like the Scott Burns. We interviewed him. Interviews turned out good. But then it evolves into a proper show. What do you guys think about straight up just interviews? Is that something you want to see from us? Or I'm getting the general consensus as I look around at other people's channels, some smaller, some bigger than ours, And the views on interviews typically are people don't care about reviews, they don't care about interviews. What do you guys think? Should we start farting with that, or is it just a lot of work for nothing? What do you want to see on this channel? I think we got a good mix going now, but there's always room for other stuff as the years grind on. So yeah, a little feedback is always fun. Put it in the comments if you want.
Yep. Or over in the Discord. That could be a good topic.
Yeah, the Discord too.
Kind of archive stuff there. I think we need to see more Randy. It's been a while since I broke that one out.
We need a Randy emoji. There's an Alan emoji where you're going, where I made Simon captured it and I made an emoji out of it. People use it all the freaking time. Pretty funny. Anyway, Roger. Sorry, Roger. All these questions.
Yeah, but I mean, it's quite interesting. I think it would be cool if you get maybe band members from bigger bands and just talk metal with them. Yep. Not necessarily do it as an interview, just do it as a guest. Maybe they talk a little bit about music and their history and stuff like that. I think that would be something that people would watch, but often interviews are you have magazines doing them. It's kind of difficult to do the questions good enough. That's but I think if you kind of blend it in with them kind of showing and telling what they like and
start off and ask a few questions, but then mold it into their top 5 favorite whatever. I mean, we could I think that's the general consensus for sure. So thanks for your input on that.
So
a lot of people are agreeing with you in the chat, so that's cool.
That's good to know. One of my absolute all-time favorite death metal album is Accidental Suicide. The Deceased.
That is a great unheard. The people don't talk about that one, from Wisconsin, baby.
Yeah, when I bought this back in, was it 92? It came out or something like that.
Good album.
I was blown away. I mean, the beast of a vocal, the sheer brutality of the music, and I play this many times every year because I just love it. I did pick up the reissue on vinyl, but I had to show some OG stuff as well going here, and I put a CD on the other day, and I mean, this is a CD that I play 3 or 4 times before I take it out because it's so damn good, and I always loved it. And for me, it's kind of one of these kind of the top 10 albums when it comes to death metal. So yeah, I was very happy when they released or reissued it a couple of years ago, because that was one album that was long out of print as well. So
right on. Ellen.
Let's see. And Devin, we actually did sort of reach out to PV about that. He isn't comfortable at all trying to do like a show about his own albums, which makes perfect sense. That would probably be really kind of awkward, but it is a possibility we'll have him on as a guest and discuss some other topic, though.
We shall see.
We shall
That'd
see.
be pretty. That'd be a little starstruck. PV's a pretty cool. Talk about a hell of a musician.
Yep.
Be cool.
But okay, let's see. This one I played a good amount while traveling during the holidays. It is the final album from Fate's Warning, long-running progressive metal project, of course. The album was called Long Day, Good Night. Came out in 2020. I kind of missed it when it came out. I don't know why. It just did not get on my radar. So I didn't pick it up until maybe like the following year or so. It's what you'd expect from this era of Fate's Warning. Yeah, at this point, along with Matheos, Bobby Jerzombek was still in the band and drums. It still sounds great. Ray Alder, of course, still singing. Fate's albums, they usually changed their sound pretty steadily over time. The last couple of albums are very good. This is not a band that kind of faded down the stretch or anything. But I think, maybe the last couple of albums, they weren't necessarily reinventing themselves the same way they had at several other points earlier in their career. So these last couple of albums are easy to get kind of comfortable. It's like, you kind of know this one's going to be a good follow-up to Theories in Flight. And that was a good follow-up to, what was the one before that? Darkness in a Different Light, I think's the title of it. They got a little bit more, into a style and a sound that just worked for them. Musicianship and performances are all top notch, just as you'd expect. The songs on this one are relatively varied. There are some that feel a little lighter, a little poppier, some that feel, definitely, of course, a little downtrodden and melancholic. That's always been kind of a trademark for Fate's Warnings, this kind of autumnal gray, slightly down, not like fully depressed, not like on a total bummer, but, a little bit, dreary. It always works for them. And yeah, it's kind of sad that they're not a going thing anymore. But, Jim Matheos is still writing music and working with other projects. He just felt like, Fate's Warning had kind of run its course at this point. Other guys are working on other things as well. But this is a nice way to go out. The band was still making good albums. This one is still a really quality piece in their catalog. It's not like they went out on a weird note. It's also not like they went out like on their strongest album ever, and you feel like, oh, but they probably had one more great follow-up. It's like, nope. They had gotten into a comfort zone, and that's quite okay. They did it well. And this being the last document from Fate's Warning, it fits well. It's a nice ending chapter to that very long and legacy. So yeah, it was fun going back and playing that one. I hadn't played it in a couple of years, and it still holds up incredibly well, just like pretty much everything their catalog does.
Right on. All right. Well, I've shown this a few times. I've been listening to it a lot and got my kid into it as well. But I finally picked up the first Halo Effect, Days of the Lost. And I also got the new one, March of the Unheard. Yeah, Mike reviewed this.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to be the guy that edited it, pulled all the clips for it. And this is, yeah, there's a poppy element to this, or a more commercial element to this. But you've got basically everybody in this band is an ex-member of In Flames. You got Jesper Stromblad and Michael, singer from Dark Tranquillity, Michael. I can't remember his last name, but
Stan.
Yeah, this is. I like this better than the first one. It's just catchy as shit melodies. It's the height of the Gothenburg Melodeath sound. It's so well crafted. There's really no song on here that made me go, running out of gas. Towards the end, there's one that might not be as instantly catchy as the rest of the album, but Michael's voice is great. He can enunciate really well in spite of yelling. Talk about a guy that's screamed his entire career and still has it, whereas guys like Thomas Lindberg from At the Gates, his voice is kind of fried. It's been fried for a long time. But this is just a really great, well-written, fun freaking record. It's the melodies on here are so catchy. It's like a brighter, more commercial Jester Race. Jester Race is a darker album than this, with not a great drummer, but this is excellent. I really enjoyed it. I've spun the hell out of it. This is good too. There's a few more weak spots on this record. And I hate, in this here, whoever thought of this whole stickers over the top with the UP, they need to have their nuts removed and thrown into a fire pit, because it's the stupidest shit ever. Why? And I've even had some that put them on the damn digipacks. I mean, what the fuck, dude? That's obviously a factory screw up. But yeah, Halo Effect. If you like Jester Race, Clayman Colony, Clayman Colony, they're starting to get more commercial. There's an element of that here. If you're going to go in there and get your cult panties all up in a bunch, then you're not going to like it. But it's just such well-written, executed. The melodies on here are fantastic. Really great, catchy, endlessly hooky. Check it out. Halo Effect. Go watch Mike's review. He did an awesome job on it. Very, very great review on that record.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good release. And January had a pretty high number of good releases. The year's off to, sometimes people think of like January as being a slow month, but there's been a lot of stuff that came out right away this year that's been really good. And that's a good example of one.
And our friend Mike, he gave us a bunch of questions. And this was for Alan, but I think this could go for all of us. Do you take greater pleasure in tracking down old releases you missed back in the day, or in discovering new ones that might catch your interest? I'll start with you, Roger.
Oh, I have had a period where I loved tracking down the kind of dub tape stuff that I kind of never picked up because there was a lot of them. But I also like to discover new bands, but it's kind of farther between the really gems nowadays than compared to earlier. So for me, the last 10 years have been a lot of tracking down the old, being on the hunt for the old stuff really has been more giving than finding new bands really. But of course there is always some new bands that are very good, so that you want to pick them up as well. But definitely the reissue hunt is or old OG presses as well, if you can find them for a decent price. But I have no problem with picking up reissues if the price is a big difference from that. So yeah.
Right on. Alan, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's varied from time to time. There have been periods where I've really focused on keeping up with new stuff. There have been periods where I've completely ignored new stuff for years and just concentrated on digging back through old things that I missed. Overall, probably going through the older stuff. I have, of course, a big attachment to a lot of the older scenes, like the new wave of British heavy metal, early Swedish heavy metal, first wave of Swedish heavy metal, stuff like that. And so there is something really fun about, discovering those bands that have kind of gotten a bit lost and forgotten over the years. Once again, nobody needs me to really register an opinion on Iron Maiden or Manowar or Judas Priest. I will from time to time. It's fun. But I'm a lot more interested in, trying to find those smaller bands that don't get so much attention and at least, give them a chance to shine. It's why I pick a lot of the topics I do for my channel. No one, I'm not going to get, 2 million views showing off tracks by, French's Slaughter and Satan and Legend. None of these bands ever really made it past the demo stage. But they were all really good bands, and they all made really good music, and people ought to get a chance to check that out. I really enjoy finding those kinds of things, more so than just like, here's a new band on Bandcamp. That's fun too, and that can be great when you find some band and hear them for the first time and realize, like, wow, this band is absolutely nailing it. We hear new bands like that all the time. But yeah, going back and, unearthing those things that have kind of gotten overlooked and forgotten and never really got a chance to break through. Yeah, that for me is always a really fun. It's not something I can do constantly. Cost is an issue. Burnout can be an issue on that because, again, there's only so much stuff to go back and unearth. And sometimes you find these things and unearth them, and you kind of just want to put it back in the ground and kick some dirt over it and pretend you didn't. Not every one of them is going to be a gem that demands a ton of time or money. But that is, I guess, where you'd say my heart lies. If I was going to have to do one or the other, I would rather dig through the old relics and see what kind of bands deserve their 15 minutes of fame for the first time.
Fully agree here. And I go to a record store, I have way more excitement digging through the used stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, the record store down in Grand Rapids is fantastic. You dig through hundreds and thousands of metal records that are brand new, but you're like, I can get this online, I can get this. I mean, it's like you're flipping through it. It's like, no, I mean, the cheaper prices are over the used vinyl and the used CDs, and there might be something cool in there. I have no problem buying new stuff. I have no problem buying reissues. But it's so much more fun and nostalgic to hunt for the bands I missed when I was a teenager. There's so many of them. Thrash bands, Roger or Jürgen or any of those dudes over in Europe showing like these old thrash bands that I'm like, what is that? Looking it up, I'm like, shit, this rules. How did I miss this? And I start looking online for it. So like one thing I've been looking for is Life Beyond by Death Row, the fourth record. And there was even their final release a 7-inch. It's a 3-song 7-inch called Towers in Darkness. Little things like this are always on my radar, but if they ever turn up, I look at the price and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool though. The thrill of the hunt's what keeps us hungry, right? But yeah, good question again, Mike. Bunch of stuff. Talk about there.
One last thing on that too that's worth pointing out. No one's heard it all, and no one's ever going to hear it all.
Roger's been trying. Look at that wall behind him. He's tried.
We've all been trying. We have all been trying for decades. And I think somewhere in the back of a lot of headbangers' heads, I think there is this some mentality somehow that one day I'll have heard it all. Be like, no, I've checked it all out. There's nothing you can mention that's I haven't heard. Throw a new wave of British heavy metal band at me, bro. I've got that shit nailed down. And there's going to be something you don't know.
Yeah.
There always is. There is too much metal out there for anyone to ever digest it. So which is okay. It's a good thing. It means there is always going to be something out there that you haven't yet experienced. Yeah. It may be a style that didn't seem appealing, and so you never dug into it, or just a band that's demo level from another country, another part of the world that you didn't check out. There will always be something new to investigate as long as you want to keep digging around.
Right on. All right, Roger, you're back.
Yeah, one vocalist that I need to hear monthly is Warrell Dane. So this time I pulled out Sanctuary Inception.
What do you think about the reformation of Nevermore? Do you think it can be done?
No. For me, it's same like Sanctuary should release an album without Warrell Dane. I mean, it can't be done, in my opinion. They could have started a band without that name.
I get it, but you have to look at it from their perspective.
Yeah, of course.
You know how hard it is to start a band from scratch?
I understand why.
Even if you put featuring members of Sanctuary, guess what? People don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
they don't.
So, I just love this kind of demo. Get some different tempos and different vocals on here than compared to the album itself. And, of course, one of the best songs they have is on this, but not on the album. It's the first song, Dream of the Incubus. It's a fantastic song, and he goes so damn high on this song, higher than he ever did after it. When he goes into the kind of chorus here, it's just like insane. And it's kind of, a couple of them have been rearranged a little bit, and they don't sound exactly the same. And the fun thing was that they thought they had lost this master tape of the demos. But years later, they found it up on the loft of the barn of one of the members.
Oh, shit. That's awesome.
With water damage and everything, but they managed to salvage almost everything that was on there. So, but I mean, apart from Dream of the Incubus, the songs are, and I Am Insane is 2 songs that are not on the first album. So it's well worth having if you like Sanctuary and like the first album, because it is kind of different variations of the song. Also, especially on the White Rabbits, it's kind of a different vocal approach to it than the Sad Alone. So
Well, I've been watching some of the vocal tryouts. People have been posting their auditions on YouTube, and they're tough shoes to fill. And if they find the right guy, it could be really cool. I mean, I really can't fault them for wanting to try. I mean, it's all, Jeff. He has just as much invested as Worrell, and I see wanting to continue it. It's a tough situation to be in. It really is. I don't know. I hope they can, if they're going to do it, I hope it's done right. I'm sure they have it in mind to do so. So
probably, that's why they haven't done it yet, because they're looking for the right vocal type. I haven't posted mine yet, so
waiting for that for sure. And I gotta say, you talked about seeing the Iron Maiden tribute band, and I saw was very drunk at the casino here in town. A Kiss tribute band called Kiss Army. It was so much fun. They were so good. They sounded a lot like Kiss.
Yeah.
They were all done up in the shit, and I was drunk, and I caught fake Paul Stanley's guitar pick. I was in the front row, woo, singing along and screaming like a drunk woman at the bar, and it was awesome. So if they find the right guy, it could be good. It could be. I mean, it could be good. You never know. All right, Alan.
Yeah, that one's going to be
Tough shoes.
Yeah. No matter what you do, half the audience is not going to like it. I mean, if you get someone who sounds kind of like Worrell, people are still going to complain that it's not him. And if you go in a different direction, God help you, probably nobody's going to be happy then. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's pick something else here. Okay. This was a sort of blind buy used a while back. Hasn't really clicked with me, so maybe someone can explain what I'm missing here. What's the name of the bloody album? It's impossible to read. Anyway, it's, I think, the third album from Krallice, long-running American black metal project. It's called something like Diosha, maybe. Not familiar with this band. I mean, I know this band by reputation. This is the first album I had picked up where I was like, okay, I'll sit down and pay some attention to it. And it's not like it's bad.
It's not bad. It's good. But
yeah, there's definitely something where I'm not connecting with it. Most of the music's pretty fast. I think two things in particular that are throwing me a tad. One are the vocals. The vocals are not particularly black metal-ish. Definitely not what I was expecting from a black metal release. I mean, they're kind of dark sounding, but a little heavier, gruffer than I expect for a lot of black metal projects. The other thing is, and people always have made a huge deal out of this with Krallice, is that supposedly it's got all these super amazing guitar melodies, winding around each other throughout the whole album, and oh my god, the level of guitar work's just amazing. And I'm not hearing it. It's not like the guitar work is bad or anything, but it seems fairly straightforward to me. And maybe I just haven't played it, the 20 times with headphones on while, consuming mushrooms to, have that kind of experience or something. But I'm not really blown away with what I'm hearing in the guitar department. Not considering how much people seem to really geek out over the guitar work. I'm left kind of scratching my head, feeling like, well, it's fine, but I don't think I'd lose my shit over it the way fans seem to. So I'm kind of left at the point where I feel like, it's an okay black metal album, but if this is kind of all the band does, then I can't say I'm really impressed. What am I missing here, folks? How am I listening to this one wrong?
I'm with you. That band has Colin Marson from Gorguts bass in that band, and it's just a band that they're trying to clump into the black metal, US black metal thing. It's a little too cold, and not in a good way cold. It doesn't present well for me. I've heard a couple of their albums, and they did nothing for me. I had zero reaction to them. Yeah,
and they have an insanely long catalog at this point because they put out their own albums. They can basically drop them whenever they want. But it just feels like a very kind of medium type of album. I don't know. Roger, what do you think of the band? Or
it's one of those that I don't waste time on because I don't feel they are that much interesting. It's not bad. It's just like it's like, I do have way more interest in other and better bands, in my opinion. I haven't spent a lot of time with them, but the songs that I've heard, it's just like, it is a bit like run of the mill, and there's, as you say, there's something missing there, and there's a lot of bands that kind of are in that segment that are they're good, but they kind of either lack the energy that you want or the atmosphere you want. I don't know. It's sometimes very difficult, especially in black metal, to pinpoint the exact, what's missing really. So
yeah, well said. And yeah, and David was saying that maybe this is just not quite the right album to try to get into the band with either. Hey, it's the first time I saw I've seen one other used Krallice album and they won like $20 for it. I'm like, I'm not paying $20 for a used Krallice CD. But okay, well, it sounds like it's not just me then.
Not just you.
Fair enough. All right, Marty, I'm going to go grab something else to drink, so I'll be back in a minute.
All right. Well, for me, next up is this new Sacred album, Fire to Ice. Another one I picked up via Stormspell. This just came out a week or two ago. Reading the description on the website, it was saying that Lost Horizon was in the description. I'm like, well, I'm just buying that. I don't care. I don't get that. I don't get that here. I get. I guess kind of what he was hitting at. Really good, solid singer. But this reminds me a bit more of Iron Flame. US's Iron Flame. Similar kind of metal, more of a traditional metal, not necessarily a straight up power metal sound. It's more traditional metal, if that makes sense. Just solid fist pumping type of stuff with a really solid, clean singer. Hey, Jason, see you later. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Cheers. But I've enjoyed this. I've listened to it twice. It's really well done. The production is really good. The songs are really good. Solid singer. I'm getting to the point that I go to the Stormspell site and I always drop a bunch of money. It's the CDs. It just blows me away how much, I've just tipped the iceberg on traditional and power metal stuff. I realize that I'm very deficient in knowing what's up in this scene. I'm interested to stick my toe further in and keep going. And I've been thinking about getting more of this shit and trying to have like a segment on here, the power metal segment or the traditional metal segment, just to, I don't see a lot of channels on YouTube doing it. So Devin, check this one out. It's pretty damn good. So, Fire to Ice by Sacred just came out. I can't remember where these guys are from. I could look it up, but you can too. Check it out. Good stuff. Stormspell Records. Iron Flame. If you like Iron Flame, check out these guys. Good stuff. And Mike has another good question here. Okay, guys. What matters more to you, owning physical media or the music itself? Roger?
Well, of course, music, but I don't like listening to digital stuff. Like I can listen to Bandcamp on my phone if I'm out and about, but picking up stuff on physical media is essential for me to listen to music. I wouldn't sit down and listen to, I don't have Spotify. I will never have it. The only kind of thing I use is YouTube and Bandcamp. But apart from that, it's all physical formats, tape, CD, vinyls. And it's kind of, as we've spoken about this before, something about the ritual of the whole thing. And and especially vinyl sounds way better if there's at least, certain eras of vinyls. I mean, there was a period of production-wise that can't transfer and be into good vinyl sound, but like the old stuff and stuff like that, you have a very unique and warm sound that you will never get on digital.
If it's recorded analog, like the old metal stuff, Don't Break the Oath on vinyl, that's the way that should be listened to.
Yeah, that's kind of, and that can't be, you can't replace that from my part, at least. I will never go that way as long as I'm able to listen to music.
Yeah. What about you, Alan? What do you think? You're muted.
Thank you. To quote the new wave of British heavy metal DJ Tommy Vance, it's the music that matters. So But like that said, yes, it's, I think, more enjoyable for all of us to be able to, sit down and listen to that music on physical media when we have the chance to do so. But yeah, if I had to listen to it only digitally, of course I could and still enjoy the music. I mean, well, hell, it's right here. This has probably 85% of my entire music collection is on this. It's just a little external hard drive. Not every single thing is. Every CD I own is on this. Everything I've ever downloaded is on this. Every single I own is on this. And
what happens if that dies? You're fucked.
Yeah.
No, because I also have this completely loaded on box. And I have a second one of these too. If one dies, it's on another. If both die, it's on the cloud. And
if that blows up, it was just meant to be. You weren't supposed
and
to
if
have
that blows
any
up,
of
then fuck it. Yes, I'm just going to watch Taylor Swift videos for the rest of my life, and that will be the end of that. There's a certain point where yes, God just says you're not listening anymore. But yeah, I mean, I can, if I had to, I could, listen to it that way and still enjoy it a lot. But yes, given the chance, the physical media is still going to, of course, be thing. Like, Roger said, not just, the ritual of it, but there's all that, are ways of interacting with it too. When you're listening digital, really, you are just here. That is all you're doing. You're not touching the album cover. You're not reading the liner notes. You're not seeing what t-shirt the band is wearing in the picture that goes along, for the band photo. And when you get into like, the older independent stuff, singles and stuff can be weird, but if you have something like an old Diamond Head single, Jesus Christ, that's something that Sean Harris probably held and glued together himself to sell at a gig that night. Those are pieces of history. Having a download of Diamond Head, yes, you can absolutely enjoy the music that way, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the same experience as having something in hand to smell and touch and interact with in those ways.
Yep. For me, I struggle with digital. I'm not the world's biggest fan of Bandcamp. As a label guy, I mean, it's a necessary evil, and for bands, it's essential. It just is. It's great. In that aspect, it's great. But from an old fart looking at this, I buy something on Bandcamp. I went through this spell. I was like downloading all these, like buying. It was like name your price type of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So like, send a couple bucks to download these nasty raw black metal things. And if I don't have a CD or a LP of it, guess what?
Yeah.
They just sit on my hard drive, or they sit on Bandcamp. I don't even download them. I don't ever listen to the digital. But having said that, as much as I'm supposed to sit here and say as an artist, fuck Spotify, which, yeah, the way they don't pay people for shit, but man, what a resource. I use it for heavy metallurgy. If it's not on Spotify, I'll listen to it on YouTube Music. It's for what we do here, like the deep dives and shit. I'm sure as hell not going out and buying all of the Metal Church albums I don't have in my collection for that, or all of the Motorhead, or all the Thin Lizzy, or all the Saxon. My God, I've got 5 Saxon records. If I didn't have...
Wait, you haven't bought them all? Oh my God, I've been doing it wrong for 4 years.
Yeah.
There's no room in my house. My cat sleeps on a pile of Saxon CDs.
Oh, some of them are worth putting in the litter box too. But yeah, just as digital is a great resource, and it's gotten to the point where we do take CDs in the vehicle, but it's also easy just to use the phone, plug it talks right to my stupid car stereo, and yeah, there's a convenience to technology, but as far as downloads, I mean, I know Alan he'll go to Bandcamp, he'll buy downloads of stuff. I just never listen to him. I just never do. But some. If I don't have the CD or the tape or the LP, then it's not gonna get listened to. It's probably because I'm an older guy. I'm used to having the actual, and the whole ritual of it. I love going to a town, looking up what record store, or going to a town and for the purpose of just going to the record stores. And now that my kid is into it, it's so much fun either going with your kid or going with a bunch of friends to a record store to spend a day in another city, buy records. It's just the thrill of the hunt is so much fucking fun. And I think it's kind of the youth don't get it. They're not old enough yet maybe to have experienced it yet. But I mean, we would skip school to drive down to Grand Rapids to buy records in snowstorms in a shitty wood paneled Ford Escort. It was not a wise thing to do, but it was so much fun to go and get there and buy all this, see all this stuff that you've only read about in magazines. It's just the thrill of the hunt. Music is the most important. That is obviously, without it, we wouldn't be collecting. We'd just be collecting plastic. But yep, the music makes that plastic important, or that vinyl important. All right, Roger, what's next?
Well, I haven't been playing a lot of black metal lately. After I was on a black metal festival in January, I kind of it was so good that I kind of needed to hear something else.
You went to, which one did you go to in January?
In Trondheim, the Nidrosi Ceremonia Nidrosea, with the guy from Territory Possession who arranged it. Vordom Rife, Askeregn, Vemod, Ritual Death, Sortilegia from Canada played there. Just a fantastic setup. And Vemod had the former guitarist of Ulver who played on the black metal albums.
Havard?
Yeah, he came on stage and they played the first song of the first Ulver album live with. Oh yeah, it was so fucking excellent. I get goosebumps just thinking of it. The sound was perfect and it just sounded like. The Vemod vocalist has a great voice, so he nailed it. So it was fantastic. So after that, I kind of had to take a break because I kind of wanted to keep that in mind from. But I picked up this Polish band Eiffel 1710, which is kind of a raw, evil black metal band, well produced. I mean, the guitar sound and all, it's not like done bad, but the energy is definitely present. Vocalist is very aggressive and hateful, as it should be. Very cool band. This came out in 22, but I just got it a couple of weeks ago. See the angry guys there.
They smell something real bad.
Yeah. But of course, everything is in Polish, so I have no idea what they're singing about. But sounds really good and a kind of a very good, aggressive, and it sounds Polish. It does, but it's not like moi, but it's in the vein of the Polish scene, and you can kind of hear it. Maybe, of course, the vocals are a present of it, but and they do have, again, you can say this for most Polish band, drum work is, of course, excellent.
So speaking of, Old Olver and Havard, have you heard the Dold Vorde Ens Naven band?
Yeah, I do have heard that album.
Did you like it?
Some of the songs, but it gets too weird. I mean, the parts where they are more like old Dödheimsgard is very nice, but then he gets on with these avant-garde trips that he has on some of the songs are terrible, but some of the songs are really good, but some of them doesn't work for me. I do have a friend who really loves the album, but
I love it too. I really,
for
we
me,
did
it's
an
kind
album
of just
club on it. I loved it. I bought it.
Yeah.
Morkere, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Mörkere.
No, I can't roll my R's.
You have to practice.
I have to look like an idiot when I do it. So I'd have my ass kicked in Norway in 20 minutes. Anyway, Alan, and Roger would sit there and watch and laugh as I'm getting my ass kicked. Do better, American.
Good deal. I will go with a very simple but effective one here. Hadn't played this in a long time, so It's like, yeah, sure, why not? Played the whole thing. Slayer's Decade of Aggression, the old
classic.
2 CD set in the giant clamshell case, which
Perfect.
These things were always bulky, but I do have a soft spot for them. I never had a lot of albums on this format, but the ones that I did, I tended to like a lot. It's just a really, really good live album. It's got a killer track list. It sounds great, of course. It's Slayer really at their peak. I mean, everything up to this point, Slayer had just kind of gotten bigger and bigger. And yeah, some people weren't as big on like Seasons in the Abyss as earlier albums, but still really good stuff. The thing looking back, that's really interesting with this album is that there's a long hiatus after this. That you had Seasons came out in 90, Slayer's Top of the World, Thrash is going strong. This comes out in 91. Heavy Metal is King, Heavy Metal rules. And then Slayer kind of just quietly disappears for 3 years. You don't get Divine Intervention until 1994. I was all set to talk about Divine Intervention tonight, but now we've switched gears. We'll get back to Jason in another week or two. And of course, in those 3 years, like the entire heavy metal landscape couldn't have changed more. And it's just this funny thing that one of the biggest, most popular, and most intense acts was kind of there right up until this cutoff. And then as metal almost in a way completely gets reinvented, Slayer's just not there the whole time. It's almost like when they went away, shit fell apart. And they come back in 94. Divine Intervention, is not a bad album. I don't think a lot of people are going to put it, as one of their best. But it's not like they came back, and had reinvented themselves as, grunge or put out some kind of pile of crap like Load or something like that either. But it's so weird how Slayer was gone. You say it 3 years doesn't sound like a big deal. But looking back at it, and that 3-year window in particular, being off the scene in a way between 91 and 94, the culture shock coming back onto the scene, you got to wonder what it was like for them, because man, the landscape had changed completely. But yeah, we'll revisit that topic in more detail with Jason when he's available in a couple of weeks. For now, Decade of Aggression, very fun live album, even though I hardly ever play it anymore.
Yep. All right. Thanks to Roger showing this off and speaking the truth on it. I figured I ought to get with the fucking program and buy it. Those Who Reign Below by Merciless. The French band came back a while ago.
Yeah.
And I only had their first 2 albums. I'm a big Abject Offerings fan.
That's a killer album.
The song on there in particular, Substance of Purity, still blows me away every time I hear it. I love that song. One of my favorite old school death metal songs from back in my teenage years is that song. Colored Funeral, really great, a little more technical, good album. And then they put out an album called Cold, I want to say. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's
Cold Life or Cold, I don't know, but it was crap.
Cold something, yep.
Yeah.
They tried to go the way of a lot of bands during this time, trying to follow the Entombed groovy thing. Dismember did it for an album. Desultory did it to terrible results on Swallow the Snake. But I said, okay, fine. I don't need to pay import price for that album. Whatever. I'll let them die. Well, they came back, and if they're all as good as this, I might have to dig backwards. This sounds like Merciless. It still sounds like Merciless. You got the Van Drunen tinged vocal style of the singer. It's the same singer. You can tell kind of right away. The riffs, they're trying to be a little bit more aggressive, a little more blasty in spots, trying to modernize their sound a bit. But it doesn't put me off, I still dig this record. I've spun it a couple times. Need to spend a little more time with it, but man, for an old band still kicking, they're doing really good work here. Really solid. And I love the old school death bands because they come from a riff frame of mind as opposed to a sound.
Yeah.
There's songs and riffs here, not just polluted, cavernous incantation worship. There's
That's their
shit going on
first one for Osmos now, right, Marty?
Yeah,
Yes,
yep,
it
this
is.
is Osmos.
Yeah. One or two before that are actually quite good. Also, they're on smaller labels, but yeah, they at some point there are a couple of albums back. They definitely kind of got their shit back together, and I've only heard those albums a couple of times each, but they're really solid. So yeah, if you like that one, work your way back another album or two, and you should still enjoy what you're hearing.
Right on. And our friend Devin has a question for us. Maze of Torment. Question for all three of you. If you lost your entire collection, considering you guys aren't exactly spring chickens anymore, you little bastard, would you start over or just give up at this point since it took a couple decades to get your collections? Couple decades? I've been buying records since the late 70s, thanks to Kiss. But yeah, I mean, Roger, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my collection is insured, so I would, of course, use those money to buy back shit. I mean, of course, but you will lose a lot of, the OGs and a lot of memories and stuff like that, and that will never be replaced.
That's hard to replace.
Yeah, so
you'd eat up your insurance money real quick if you're buying fucking OGs.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be the same. But I mean, you had to restart, and of course, you could pick up just the good stuff or brilliant stuff. But all those memories that's here are connected in some way, and to lose that is, the worst part of it.
It's the worst part.
Yeah,
it's part of your childhood dying.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a lot of these albums that I have. This album. Just fantastic album that I have had since it came out. Of course I can get it on a repress, but I mean, this is the original that I bought when I was a kid for my hard-earned money.
Yeah.
So that's kind of difficult to say. But of course I would have bought back stuff, but it wouldn't be the same at all. I wouldn't have the same connection to the collection as I have now.
Yeah,
for sure.
Alan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I suspect I would probably let it go at that point, to be honest.
Okay.
Like Roger said, even if you're replacing it, it's never going to quite be the same. And the sheer volume of work it would you'd have to put into it to try to rebuild even a decent chunk of it. I mean, you're looking at years and years of time, and a huge amount of money. And we joke, but Devin's got a point. The age is part of it. Do I want to be trying to rebuild a collection when I'm 60 years old or something? I doubt it. I don't think that would appeal to me very much. Maybe I would put together a very small collection of stuff that I really love, the top 50 albums or whatever, but just get like the cheapest available CD reissue or something. I don't think I'd want to put the collection back together. And another reason for that too is trying to eat. Let's say even that you could do it. Let's say I could have enough insurance money, and I could just, guarantee somehow that give me 10 years and I can have the whole collection put back exactly the way it was. Even if that all happens today, and then 10 years later, it's all back. Okay, great. Now I'm, in my 60s. What am I doing with the collection at that point? That's a topic, for another episode.
Enjoying it.
Yeah.
For how much and for how long?
That's the big question.
Was it worth rebuilding? Because at 10 years, you're going to be enjoying it to a point, but it's also for a lot of that 10 years, it's going to be more like, shit, now I got to replace this. Shit, now I got to replace that. It's going to be, a struggle and an annoyance to have to put a lot of that back together. To get it, great. Now I've got it. And 5 years from now, I got to liquidate the whole thing because I've got to move into a smaller home or an assisted living facility or something. I mean, it's a real thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't move that shit into an old folks home with you.
Oh yes.
I can't,
The big stereo.
would I want to put it all would I want to put it all together knowing that there could be a relatively short window there where I would actually do anything with it after the fact? I don't think that would appeal to me very much. So I think, yep, if the collection was lost, I think I would just have to be like, you know what, cut the losses, put the money towards other good things for quality of life for me and the family instead. And let's just not worry about, trying to rebuild and recapture all of this stuff from decades past. I think it would suck. I mean, I'm not saying I would do it on a lark or just willy-nilly, but I think I would have to just say, once again, it's the music that matters. I can listen to it in other ways. And the collection part itself, that would just be time to not reinvent the wheel and just let it go.
For me, I mean, I'll be 54 in June. That and our friend Jeff Wagner, he just lost a lot. Almost all their shit. They lost everything. And he has it in mind he's going to rebuild. And I've sent him a box of CDs. I know a lot of people that have sent him, Zoller bought him a bunch of CDs and a CD player and all this others. The community helps. The community reaches out, and I don't think. I mean, let's be honest. I was a writer. I had my own zine. I wrote for Metal Maniacs. I got a shit ton of promos. I got rid of a lot of shit, but I kept a lot of shit that I never listened to. So the fire would claim a bunch of shit that probably needed to be gone anyway. But it's the stuff that I grew up with. The Anacrusis albums, the original Overkill shit, the, Holy Terror. I mean, all this stuff, the Halloween shit. There would be things I would rebuy, but I would not go in with the mindset of replenishing the entire collection. There's a lot of fourth-rate crappy black metal that doesn't need to be here. That's here. It's just here.
Yeah.
It's been sucked into the void and rarely sees the light of day. And if it does, it's a rare occasion. But I would buy, because I mean, I've thought about this before. I get on myself for spending too much money on shit, but then I get to thinking, what else would I have done with this money all these years? I don't have any other interests. I'm not a car guy. I don't collect I don't collect anything else. I have guitars, and when I get to a certain age, those will probably just go wherever. I'll sell them at some point, but it's a tough question to answer. Devin, you, God damn it, downer, young bastard. Well, it's late. Do you want to do one more round, guys, or are we good? You want to do one more round?
Yeah, sure.
Or
one more round sounds good.
All right, Roger.
Well, since Alan had a big CD, I will take this one.
Oh, you just showed this on one of your recent ones.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. It's Divos from Poland with their new album. Or new. It came out last year, but it came out a little bit late. And Apophenia. I can take out it's a cover by Lewandowski, which is a fantastic artist. Yep. Kind of technical, brutal, or slightly brutal, I would say. They don't have these blasted drums that a lot of these bands have. This drummer is really good at keeping it more groovy in a way. A fantastic drummer, and also you get cowbells, which is something it's way too little of in or death metal. He also played drums in Manbrine from Poland as well, a black metal band. I saw them live, and I saw him live, and I was just watching him playing drums. It was fantastic.
One of those guys.
Yeah. Just He's so damn good playing
Yeah.
drums, and
It's inspiring watching a drummer that rages. It's so
yeah.
It makes
So-
it the live thing so much more intense.
So of course I did have to pick it up on this stupid box, but yeah. So I mean, it is of the brutal elk, but it's kind of with kind of more organic drumming. You don't have these triggered kick drums. You don't have the intense blast beats throughout. You do blast, but it's kind of shorter elements of it, and great riffs. I think this is their 6th or 7th album. Don't see a lot of people talk about them, which is a shame because they are a quality death metal band. But I mean, there's a lot of them out there. So
right on. Good one, Alan.
Let's see. All right, so for wrapping things up, yeah, let's go with this one. Asphyx, Death the Brutal Way.
That's a good album.
It is a good
comeback.
album.
Good comeback.
It was a good comeback. And I like Asphyx is one of those bands, the more I kind of poke around in their catalog, the more and more they're just very quality consistent. Yes, there's some albums there in the 90s that try a couple of different things, but I don't think I've really heard one that I just flat out don't like yet. But yeah, this, of course, was Van Drunen's return to the band. Now, I guess he had this and Hail of Bullets going side by side for a while. It's not like he had ended Hail of Bullets and then did Death the Brutal Way. For some reason in my mind, I thought it was one and then the other, but that's not correct. But yeah, really like the way this album starts in particular. It's like the very first note in the very first song, it's already Van Drunen screaming at you. They did not fuck around. There's no slow build up.
No.
There's no heavy riff leading into it. There's no little drum pattern that builds up. It's just like, we know why you're here. You're here because the man is back. Do the thing. I mean, from the very first second, it's just like, whoa, they did not waste any time getting into that song. It's a really cool way to start the album. It's like, you're here for Van Drunen. From the very first second, you're getting Van Drunen. But yeah, Asphyx, the albums that come after this, very consistently good. They're always in that, they're a death metal band that knows how to play slow. So you can call it death doom or whatever. That's fine. But that style works for me well. The riffs are never going to be like, mind-blowingly over the top innovative. They don't need to be. They make them crushingly heavy. They know how to make the songs melodic, memorable, catchy. You've got, one of the iconic vocalists working for you. It just comes together really, really well. And so, yeah, Asphyx is one of those bands I find myself going back to more and more often over time, rather than just having the albums sit on the shelf. So, Death the Brutal Way has got some play lately. Another solid one in their catalog. And yeah, it was a good return to form for sure. They could have screwed it up, I guess, but Asphyx just doesn't seem to screw up.
All right. Myself here. Well, this is one I've gotten recently. Want to test the waters on their Finnish band, Aegrus, Aegrus. Devotion for the Devil came out on Osmos Productions. This is the style of black metal I like. The raw shit, dissonant harmonies, dissonant but melodic, but mostly harsh, ritualistic, old school flavored black metal of the Finnish variety. The Finns just have a way, they just sound a certain way. And it appeals to me. Not because I'm Finnish, just because I like the sound. They've got 3 or 4 other albums that I'm interested in checking out. I don't know exactly when this came out, but it's a no frills, solid. It kind of, the album sounds the way the cover looks. A dude sitting at a table of candles and shit. It's the old school orthodox black metal style. Mm-hmm. And nothing new really to report here other than I like it.
Yeah.
And we're going to end with a question tonight that's for our guest.
Now, folks have requested we not end on a bummer question like Devin's. Let's not all go home feeling like, cold and tired and that there are wolves chasing us into our grave.
Any moment, death is going to claim our souls.
It'll happen to you too.
Our friend up in the Great White North, Jason Low Noise Jason Skills. He's a DJ. Check out his channel. He shows metal. He shows electronic stuff. He throws some records. Anyway, for Roger, how did Roger come to metal as a kid? From hard rock? What was first band that got him into metal?
Yeah, well, I listen to a lot of music at home, starting with, the 60s, 70s rock, really, bands. It was kind of Deep Purple and bands like that, but also AC/DC, Motorhead, Black Sabbath, those kind of things were the first one. And then, of course, in 82, it was Iron Maiden, and then stuff just took off really. So but I would say like Deep Purple for sure was important to kind of starting that journey, and AC/DC for a lot of people. I think AC/DC and Motorhead, Black Sabbath is a normal gateway.
How did you miss Kiss? You missed out. I mean, you're around 50, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I had a very good friend of mine who was a big Kiss fan, but for me, it was I think it was the theatrical thing that I didn't like. The mask.
Well, very poppy.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of. I did like Kiss. I didn't hate them, but it was kind of not a band that was important for me in my musical journey. But of course, I listened to them, but I've never been a massive fan. I think I do have 2 or 3 Kiss albums ever in my collection, so. That's kind of how it was. But as I had friends that listened to kind of different things that I didn't listen to, and we agreed to disagree on some of them.
Yeah.
So, but 2 of my best friends were like deep into Kiss. So, yeah, for sure. But I just think it was that kind of painting and high heels and stuff like that.
Yeah. Flamboyant, over the top.
Yeah, I was probably very homophobic back when I was a kid. So,
right. All right, Alan, you want to touch on the same one for you? What was your gateway into the metal realm?
Gateway into the metal realm. Well, the first pair of albums I bought that would have counted as like, heavier stuff. I bought them on the same day, so can't really say one came before the other. I got the Cult, Sonic Temple, and Metallica's And Justice for All. So yeah, pretty different things there. A lot of it though was just, teenager, late 80s, seeing stuff on MTV, gradually getting a little more interested into it. I got into heavier stuff a little bit later than maybe other kids my age. I know, like around, a lot of kids like my age in school started listening to stuff more like around maybe 87, about the time like, Appetite for Destruction was breaking really big, and Hysteria were breaking really big. Yeah, and I heard those in the background, but I didn't gravitate to that stuff right away. It was another year or 2 later where, I got more interested. But yeah, those were the first 2 albums I bought. So that's, kind of where I started getting into things. Some of it was definitely more the glammy stuff, because that's more of what I saw on MTV,
sure.
Day in and day out. So that's where, like, the Danger thing came from, for example.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, then, yeah, I also was pretty quickly getting into more things like Overkill and Iron Maiden, and, the heavier, of Metallica being a huge one those first couple of years. So, yep, those would be kind of my first forays into the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
And Marty, your origin story?
It's Kiss. I mean, I don't know, it was 77 or 78. I saw them on TV. Wouldn't shut up about it. My grandma bought me Kiss Alive. We would my parents both worked, so I would sit with her when I was a kid, and we'd play Rummy and listen to Kiss on her. Back in the day where stereo systems were a giant piece of furniture with a lid that lifted up, there was an 8-track in there, a radio, and then this turntable. And yep, Kiss. I get why people hate Kiss, and I hate Kiss too at times, but that band is responsible for getting me into music. making me appreciate the spectacle of the album sleeve, the covers, the artwork, the pictures, the liner notes. That they were the band. I have to give them a lot of credit, and I will always have a spot in my heart for that shit. Moving forward, Maiden was a revelation. See what I did there, Alan? Revelation.
Yeah.
Metallica. Metallica was big. It was that. Was it Ride the Lightning? My friend bought Ride the Lightning on tape, and I laughed at it when I listened to it. Fight Fire with Fire come on. I'm like, what the hell is this? You know, like what everybody says, kill your mother, rape your dog, yelling shit. Well, a week later, I'm like, can I get a dub of that tape? And TJ will be like, why do you waste your time, still checking out this Metallica shit? They suck. I'm like, it's because what they did. I mean, I just have so much. I was so blown away by that band when I was a teenager. Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, blown away, and they got the ball rolling too. So there's a lot of bands that we all process on our journeys that mold our style. And I've got some glam in my Cinderella. I like Rat, some Dokken, industrial. I had friends that were into industrial music and goth, so I do like goth music. I like gothic rock. I like industrial music. So I'm fortunate. My friends all had pretty cool and some alternative shit. I grew up in a house that was country. Tom T. Hall, Loretta Lynn, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Kenny Rogers, Mac Davis, Rita Coolidge, all the shit the 70s. ABBA. ABBA was one. Yeah. The Glorious Dead, no one's heard it yet, but we did cover the song SOS by ABBA. You all scoff until you hear it. You'll be like, holy shit. When you hear it, you're going to crap your pants. But it's all part of what makes us what we like. And with that, Roger, you're the man. We love having you on, my friend. It's awesome to have you. A lot of fun
Absolutely.
as always. Alan, I'm glad you're feeling a percentage point better. We missed having you last week.
Yep,
And everybody go check out Let's Talk Metal. Links in the description. If you don't know of Alan's channel, every Tuesday, 6:45 in the morning, he uploads. And we'll be hearing his Metal Church ranking, which I'm bummed that we didn't get to hear.
You had two good guests for the show, so
We
it was
did.
still an awesome episode. And,
We had fun.
Yeah, they know that band a lot better than I do too.
And me
so,
too. Me too. Even though I worship that band as well. First two albums, still love it. Still good. But Robert, you have anything you want to throw on the pile here before we jump?
No, not really. As I said, there will be a metal tag and there will be some other response videos coming
Awesome.
soon. But as I said, I shoot videos when I feel like it and post them. So, yeah.
Uh,
Alan, what did we forget?
Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me do this. Oh. Wade and Mark and others are talking pro wrestling in the chat the last few minutes. Things on my wall that you can't see because they're off to the side. Autographed pictures from Shark Boy and from the Awesome Kong. Because my wife and I used to go to pro wrestling events quite a bit when they would come through our neck of the woods.
My name is Shark Boy. Look at my muscles.
His whole gimmick for it was obviously dressed like a shark, but his character was a Stone Cold Steve Austin ripoff. So he would like jump up on the corners of the ring thing, and be like, "Everyone, give me a shell, yeah!" and break open cans of like clam juice and pour them all over himself and stuff. It's fucking hilarious.
Was he fast as a shark?
He was not quite as fast as a shark. He was kind of a gimmick wrestler, but really fun. But this lady right here, Awesome Kong, she was like one of the few like really serious, big badass type female wrestlers on the scene there in like the early 2000s. A lot of the female wrestlers, of course, like more like they wanted people who were pretty. Over time they got more and more athletic. She just stomped a mud hole in everybody's ass and was great at it. She was the perfect like monster heel stomp. Just bring her. She never said much of anything. Just stomp out, looking pissed at the world. Beat the shit out of anyone they put in front of her, and then stomp back. my wife was scared to meet her. But I'm just like, oh, there's no way we're not getting an autograph from her. And Melissa's like, oh, I don't know. This is I don't like her. And so we finally get to the front of the line. I like pass her the picture. She starts to sign it. And she like looks at my wife for a second. Kind of like leans forward. And like you can literally see like Melissa's like, is she going to bite me or something? She's just like, and I'll do the voice as best I can. But she looks at my wife for a second. She's like, is that an engagement ring? Are you guys engaged? She has this super high, squeaky, girly voice. This lady here. And Melissa's like, uh-huh. The lady stops the entire autograph line for like 5 minutes just to talk to Melissa about wedding planning. She's like, tell me, what are you guys doing? When have you registered? What are your what's your colors for the wedding? Just all this stuff. And just like everyone in the place, like, what the hell's going on up there? And she literally just stopped the event to geek out with my wife about her engagement ring and stuff. And then, let's say, oh, here, let me sign you all's picture, got us moving again and all that. And so, yes, she signed it, to Alan and Melissa bully each other in bed. and Melissa just walked away, just beaming, like, I can't believe how nice she is. I'm just like,
they're all acting.
Yeah. I'm like, she's not like a vicious killer monster all the time, honey. Yeah. But anyway, I pulled those off the wall just to show, since Mark and Wade have been geeking out, having some fun on the pro wrestling stuff. We don't go to them anymore, but yeah, we used to catch quite a bit of those ourselves. So little fun bonus stuff there as we wrap it up for the night.
Mark wants to know if your wife power bombs you. If he's lucky.
Yeah, that's got to cut the video before that gets a little blue.
All right, on everybody, thank you so much. Please go check out Roger's channel, link in the description. Please go subscribe to Let's Talk Metal. Yeah, we had a great time as always. Roger, thank you so much again. You rule, my friend. Everybody in the chat, you're all great. Thank you so much. Go check out the Discord server if you have not. A lot of fun over there all week long. That's it. If no one has anything else to add, I'm pulling the plug. We good?
Yeah.
We good. Yep.
Cheers,
and
everyone.
Wade, that was at a smaller show, not a TNA show. They kind of rented the guys from TNA for a night.
Awesome. Cheers. Later. TNA.
Later.
TNA.